Oh yeah. Woo! Y'all hear that? Y'all hear the sound of that? Did y'all feel the vibes on that? You know what time it is. It's the DGen Nation Pod. Oh yeah, and that sultry voice coming to you. It's your boy Ryan Williams back in the driver's seat. You know what it is, baby. I'm ready to take off with my fam. I'm ready to take off with the DJ Nation. And you know I have to do it with the fellas. My goodness, back once again with you guys, talking week one, DFS slate, talking DraftKings. Yes, I said it, DraftKings. I had to dust off the cobwebs, you know what I'm saying? But it feels good. It feels good. Ryan Williams, you know me, Ryan Alexander _W is where you can find me on Twitter. Man, the Godfather himself was humble enough to bring me back and to let me ride, let me drive this time. So move over. The owner of the Fantasy Authority, Mr. Kevin Steele himself, Fantasy Ref 13 is where you can find him on Twitter. And I know I'm going to be getting into it with Kev, so I'm just so happy to be back doing this with you guys. My boy Matty D in the streets, you can see him hitting those figures. He's just doing it. What you say, Maddie? Trying to predict the future one day at a time.
That's
I
right.
love it. I love it. Maddie DFS. And then, oh my goodness, I mean, you know, I try to keep it good with the beard. You know, Kev tries to keep it good with the beard, but he's got grays. He can't do it like D, bro. Derek Brown himself, Fantasy Pros legend. Oh my goodness, D, bro. I know you're excited for week one. You've been doing the rounds, you've been writing the primer, and now you get to talk with us on the DJ Nation Pod. Fam, what is going on? How's everybody doing? It's week one, man. Kev, where's the Christmas music? Like, what's happening here? Like, we need to set it off right.
Well, okay, we're gonna do that. D-Bro, you're an idiot. Let's just get that out of the way now. Let's just start it
Excuse
off.
me, sir, for the betting line to hit. There was something else supposed to be attached to that. Just for keeping it real for the people. There was an adjective or a verb depending on how you use it that's supposed to
Oh,
be
you're a
right in
fucking
front of
idiot.
idiot. There we go. There we go.
There we go.
All right, one more in the overhits.
Yeah, there's gonna be some of those on this, but that's what I like about the show because then it becomes it's not just cookie cutter takes. It's not we're just not piggybacking off everybody's takes. There's a lot of different opinions here. That's why this show always seems to take forever because we all have to talk about our takes. Of course, really, you should be able to sort it out by my takes. My takes are always going to be correct, while everybody else is just wrong.
Here we go.
So we can get that out of the way.
Love it. Maddie, how you been doing this off season, man? I know you've been kind of crickets. I know you've probably been grinding some baseball, but NFL is where the bread and butter is made. So how's everything been going? What you doing? What you gearing up for? Talk to the people.
Yeah, it's good. I max entered the Best Ball Mania 5 over on Underdog for best ball, so I'm
There we
excited
go.
for that. Pretty
Quietly, by the way, I got to
much.
mention
That's
that.
right. Yeah.
Dude didn't
Hey.
even mention that he was doing best
Yeah,
ball. He just
that's
popped
right.
his exposures in the 150 into our group chat, and I was like, "Wait a minute! I didn't even know this dude was in the best ball streets." Damn.
Yes, sir.
No, I swear to
That's
God,
how
he
we
popped
move over
in-
here. We move in silence, baby.
He popped in one day and just was like, "Yo, what's everybody's best ball exposure like? What are you guys in? Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing?" And
Yeah,
not even 5 days later, this guy, I just max entered.
Well, I couldn't,
Okay.
I mean, Debro and Ben were both on Puka heavy last year, and obviously Puka was a league winner.
Yep.
I liked Mostert a lot last year. He ended up also being a league winner. So, usually, I can get to the majority of the guys that are, have a strong outlook for the season, but obviously like to rely on, the people around me, like you guys that are spend a lot of time in this as well. And so, wanted to, before I got too far into the drafts, wanted to make sure, I wasn't missing anybody. So, I think at that point I was about 60 drafts in and still had 90 to go. And so, was able to alter some, projections, rankings up and down and be able to, cause I auto drafted most of those. I can't do, 150 hand drafts. That just takes way too long. But so definitely, it's good to have the group chat going and was good to fire that up, about 2 weeks ago and get the like you said, Ryan, dust the cobwebs off and get back at it. So it's good to be back for football. We get to week 17, 18 and we're all like, oh God, here we go again, another week. But week one's special, man. It's a lot of fun. We've been it's been a while since we've chatted football. I mean, honestly, since April for the draft. Really, we don't do much with the preseason and all that here in terms of show stuff, but so yeah, it's good to be back. Good to see you guys. Glad everybody's back. We can do this together.
Well, yeah, and it's good to keep the fan back. And I've seen everybody kind of I saw the Discord popping off, earlier on. It felt good. I know Kevin Cody have been grinding, season long stuff all the time on the Fantasy Authority channel. You guys can follow the Fantasy Authority at FF_authority. Get the link in the description for the Discord. We appreciate everybody rocking along. And before we get into the slate, Derek, got to talk about you, man. I mean, you have been killing it in these streets for a long time, season-long best ball, holding it down at Fantasy Pros. I know you've been making a ton of rounds on other people's podcasts, just, doing the things on Fantasy Pros. You got the primer that's dropped, which is absolutely incredible. You guys need to go check that out immediately. If you are doing anything related to fantasy football, Derek's got you covered. Derek, because you do this like 24/7, 365, like how do you generate the excitement for week one? How do you gear back up to say, okay, wow, this is the week, like literally we got a game happening, tomorrow, which is so exciting, but like you've been talking about it literally since the Super Bowl ended. So what's that like for you, and kind of talk to the people what you're excited about, man?
It's good, man. I mean, I think that the thing for me is we get to this part of the year and there's so much like work that you've been doing in the off season and things like that. And then I go dive into week one and write in the primer. And that was basically my entire weekend. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, like I get the holiday weekend, I get Labor Day, and I'm just gonna chill and stuff and get a breath of fresh air before the season starts. And I'm like in my office the entire weekend, like not seeing the light of day. And I was like, nah, man, I'm getting ahead of this. I'm writing the primer early. That way, like once that's out, that's why like it came out today. I was like, oh, all right. Now I can kind of chill and get excited for like football is back, dude. Like just the fact that like that's what gets me ramped up about it. Like been talking about all these players for weeks and months throughout the entire damn off season. I'm excited to see like how all this shit shakes out, dude. Like, what are we going to be right about? What are we going to be wrong about? And hell, we get to freaking watch football tomorrow night, dude. Like,
good
I'm
football,
going to sit my ass on the couch. I'm going to order pizza, get some wings, pop open the bourbon, and I'm going to sit my ass straight up on the couch and watch Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and not freaking like move. I might piss my damn pants because I don't want to get up off the couch because I want to watch that entire damn game, man. So it's good, dude. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for football to be back so we can stop talking about what could be and watch all of this stuff play out.
Yeah, and I think that's what's exciting, right, about week one. And, man, Kev, we've been doing this for so long. I know I've been gone for a little bit of time. Happy to be back with you guys, but just breaking this down week one. And like, there's nothing that we talk about more in our group chat, D-Bro included, than what happens on Overreaction, Monday after week one, when everybody, kind of lets things kind of subside and people are tilting because, oh, wait, like what's happening here? Like I thought Nico Collins was going to be the number one wide receiver in Houston. Why does Tank Dell go out and get a trifecta on everybody? And, what's going on with the Chicago Bears? I thought they were, going to be good. And then Tennessee comes out of nowhere, boat rates them. It's going to be fun to kind of get into this. And that's what's fun about week one slate. So I definitely want to start off. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this slate because it is an interesting one to get into. There's a lot of changes that are happening. D-Bro, you're probably going to be the best one to kind of talk about them. I haven't written the primer up and kind of been doing this for a while, but we have a great slate ahead. And just for you guys, tuning in, if you've been with us for a while, or if you've been rocking with the Fantasy Authority, or you're just now coming into it, this is how we do it. We're kind of a little bit different than other podcasts that you might be listening to. We are going to keep it loose. We like to have fun around here, but we are going to talk about these, games, and we do it position by position. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, tight ends, defense, and we are going to build a DraftKings team as well for you guys, as we always love to do. And we'll have Kev put that in and to some content analysis, and we'll be following along. So make sure you guys are in the Discord. Again, link in the description so you can follow along with that. And we're going to go in depth with some of these plays, and we're going to talk about things that might be a little bit off the wall. I think the fun thing for me is like trying to think about ways to get contrarian and things of like where ownerships are. Maddie, you're always good about coming in with, oh, this guy's looking like he's going to be X% owned. Like, how can we get different from that? So it's going to be a fun slate to talk about. I think we got a couple games where we're already projected to see close to a 50 total. In some games where spots are looking good. I know the Cardinals and Bills sitting around, I believe, like right around 48. At least last time I checked. I know it was around 47.5 not too long ago. Jaguars and Dolphins got a 49 total on them. And I think Texans and Colts were the other one, 48.5 last I saw. And these can always be changing. We're talking on a Wednesday. So a lot of these thoughts and stuff might change. That's why it's important for you guys to be in the Discord or to be on Twitter, follow along, hitting us up as things can change throughout the week. And we always want to monitor things going into the weekend. But as we start off, guys, talking about this slate, just top level view of DFS, knowing where people are going to go. We'll start it off with quarterbacks. And just when we're looking at the slate and we have 3 games that basically everyone's going to want to target or have a piece of or want to talk about, how are you digesting the slate and where are you starting it off? The quarterback is the anchor for DFS. Like, it kind of carries your lineup. It carries the way things are going to go. That's going to be the team that you're most heavily invested in. We got Josh Allen at the top, 8,000 in a good game script or a good game environment. CJ Stroud right behind him, 7,500. Then Dak Prescott, 71, Tua, 7,000. And then we get some interesting quarterbacks in the $6,000 range. So when we're talking about builds, we're talking about where we're starting. D, let's start off with you, man, because I know you've been, like I said, you've been doing this all summer long, and curious to hear your thoughts here. Quarterback position, like what's standing out to you? What do you want to do at this position with the way that the game environments are shaping up?
I think, yeah, like you talked about it, Ryan. I think like people are going to flock to 3 definitive games here. And you just talked about the high totals, man. People are going to flock to Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, Miami, and Arizona and Buffalo. So I think you're looking at the top of the board, like the most popular quarterbacks are probably going to be Kyler, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud. Just because of the totals, because they're going to be high scoring games, or at least that's what Vegas is telling us. And I've got no problem with that. I will say off the top here, I think the 2 most popular quarterbacks on this slate are going to be Kyler and Josh Allen. And I'll get a little bit of exposure. Like, I'll probably run like 7 to 8 teams, maybe 10 teams this weekend. I might have 1 Josh Allen team. So really, I want to try to, that's the game that sticks out to me that I want to try to be really different with. So I'm probably going to fade Kyler. Not that I don't think he's a good play, but you got to be different somewhere. You can't play everybody. I think the Bills defense is legit. So I'm going to get a little bit of exposure to Josh Allen. But looking at the rest of it, man, I think if those 2 quarterbacks are not going to lead the way as the most popular quarterbacks, I think the conversation would be starting with Jaden Daniels because he's so freaking cheap. I think that a lot of people are going to look at that game and say, okay, Tampa's defense is not nearly what it was a few years ago. Washington, we know they're playing with, it's the island of misfit toys. So what are they going to be this year? So I think Jaden is going to be firmly in play. Like, I mean, he's probably my favorite quarterback or in that top 3 of the week. I just think like this slate, there's so many like, dude, I'm looking at like, I wrote down all my core plays for this weekend. Like, I mean, I'm looking at a field like there's like 8 or 9 quarterbacks I have interest in on this slate. There's just so many different freaking ways to go. So I'll kind of condense this down. The top 3 guys that I really want to play this weekend are Jaden Daniels, Trevor Lawrence, and it's my third, if I was playing a 3 max, would be in between CJ Stroud or another guy I really want to talk about because I like the game environment. I'm going to play Geno Smith on some teams, man. Like, I've been buying into this entire offseason of Ryan Grubb is going to change up this offense, and I know that there were things out there that I saw, just like everybody else out on X today about like where they were talking about, being a run first team and what that's going to kind of look like and stuff. But like, this defense is very advantageous for either Seattle to run the ball if they want to, or to throw the freaking ball. Like outside of Patrick Surtain, the rest of that secondary is nothing you have to be scared about. And so looking at the value of all his pass catchers, that's really where a lot of my exposure goes. So for me, it's going to be a lot of Trevor Lawrence because Miami is a freaking pass funnel. I don't think anything's changed about that. Jalen Ramsey's banged up right now, dealing with a hamstring issue, and the rest of those corners I am not worried about at all. So it's Trevor Lawrence, Stroud, or Geno, and Jaden Daniels is probably going to be like in the mix for my top 3 quarterbacks. Although there are a shit ton of games that I like here.
Yeah, I love where your head's at, D, bro. And yeah, of course, we love thinking about ways to get different there. I mean, you're talking about Geno. That was such a concentrated offense. I feel like that was kind of under the radar, and they get out of the shadow of Shane Waldron, who's now in Chicago. So it'll be interesting to talk about. I think Kev might be interested in that team and out in Chicago there with Shane Waldron. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, I think Geno Stacks could definitely be good. Definitely a team that kind of has been flying under the radar. Tyler Lockett's been a little bit banged up, so people don't know what to do. Is it going to be JSN season, which I'm actually excited to see Jackson kind of take off here in the sophomore season. So that could be a fun one to stack. Talk a little bit before I toss it to Kev, D, bro, just about playing a rookie quarterback in week 1. I think it's nice to get ahead of the curve on some things. I always love coming out the gate and trying to get ahead of things there. When you're talking about Jaden Daniels, and I know we're not talking about receivers quite yet, but just what really makes you excited about playing that rookie quarterback, and what might give you a little bit of hesitation to load up too heavy on a Jaden Daniels maybe.
I mean, I'm not that worried about it. Like for me, this all comes down to DFS. I want to be ahead of the curve instead of chasing it, dude. So week 1 is the perfect chance for us to sit here and lean into the uncertainty and stuff. And the other part about it is you can double stack Jaden Daniels. If he throws for 3 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, he's taking 2 pass catchers probably along with him. Everybody is dirt cheap, dude. And the big pass catchers that Terry McLaurin is super cheap for his freaking role. He might see a 30% freaking target share, dude. And he is too damn cheap. But you can also get wild with it. Maddie, I know you love this, man, so I'm going to be right in your wheelhouse with this. Ain't nobody want to play no damn Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz has a fantastic freaking matchup. He is dirt cheap. Luke McCaffrey is going to be starting in 2 wide receiver sets. He is, I think, the stone min. So, if you want to play the narrative out and either full game stack that, because, again, we talked about how, I mentioned how bad the Commanders' defense is. That's one of the games where it's there are 2 sneaky shootouts, I think, for this slate that I really, really like. If Denver can push back on Seattle, I think that game can go way over the total. And Washington and Tampa Bay, I think that game is another sneaky shootout. And the thing about Jaden is, bro, you could double stack him and play whoever the hell you want to play. That's how freaking cheap they are for the double stack. If Ertz gets a touchdown and he throws a touchdown to McLaurin or McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey, we're off to the races, dude. And I brought it up earlier, I didn't really kind of flesh this out well enough. Maddie, you always bring it up, man. The easiest way to freaking correlate, if you love the damn quarterback, play his fucking tight end. Yep. So, why not play Zach Ertz?
Yeah.
You don't have to ever sell me on that. I mean, that's where, a lot of times when the quarterback throws the 3 or 4 touchdown game, 1 or 2 of them tend to go to the tight end.
They all getting in the band together, baby. They all getting in the band right together.
Dependent position. And so, you get a min price guy that catches 1 or 2 touchdowns. I mean, you're chilling, even if that's his only 2 catches of the game. So, yeah, I'm totally cool with, stacking a tight end anytime I'm playing a QB.
Yeah, I mean, the pieces are cheap. You mentioned it. I mean, Terry McLaurin, 5,600, going to be one of the cheapest price tags I think we see on him all season after he gets off to a hot start. And then Luke McCaffrey just over the stone men at 3,300. But still, you can have 6,300 just by playing Jaden Daniels with 3 pass catchers left for the positions, which is pretty incredible. I think that's one thing that gets kind of overlooked, and we could talk about it as we go on. It's what does the stack mean to the rest of your roster and what you can do based off of the prices that we get, because some of these week 1 prices, which have been out for weeks already, it's not like DraftKings just released the slate and opened things up and is reacting to preseason news. Like, no, these prices have been out for, over a month. And so just to know that they've been sitting there brewing and we can take advantage of the market. Kev, why don't you jump in here, man? Talk to us, Godfather. Like, where's your head at? Where are you looking at to start off your teams at the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think like a lesson learned from last year is, or from years past, like things. So, like, I think you have to understand like the world you live in now. Like, we live in a world now with Sims and everything else. Like, it's not quite like it used to be. And so, like, I think really trying to embrace chalk and like trying to determine what's good chalk and what's bad chalk. Like, not always trying to run away from chalk and be like, oh, well, if this guy's gonna be chalky, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like, that was probably the way that I used to think previously, and it gets you into
Same.
trouble. Like, so I think Josh Allen just makes too much sense, right? And like and we talk about a cheap stack. Like, it's a extremely cheap stack because I mean his highest priced player is Dalton Kincaid. And he's only 5,800. I mean, you have Shakir at 5,100, Keon Coleman's 5K, and Curtis Samuel, who looks like he's going to play, is 4,900. So this is like a very cheap stack and a great matchup against a really if there is a real shot that the Cardinals are the worst defense in the league this year. Like, their secondary is absolutely dreadful. They really don't have much of a pass rush. Like, this is a team that's terrible, and we know how Josh Allen is going to get there on the ground. He can get you there through the air. So like with Josh Allen, I just think it doesn't make a lot of sense to just like run away from him and be like, oh well, I'm going to try to get cute and go some of these other places because this is just the best matchup that there is on the board. The highest total with the highest implied team total for the Bills. And it's we're used to, when you play him, okay, we got to stack him with Stephon Diggs. Diggs used to be like an 8K wide receiver, and it was a really hard stack to fit in, right? Well, that's not the case here with this stack. Like, it is extremely cheap, and the run backs options they're definitely there. If you you could go double tight end. That's definitely something you can do with Trey McBride. You can do it with Marvin Harrison, who's there, and then they have some other cheap pass catchers there as well on the Cardinals side. So I just think Josh Allen is just like such an easy play. I know I'm not like breaking any ground there, but I know for me, like previously, this would have been a game that I'm like, I don't know about, whatever, or let me try to get different and go some other places. But I don't think there's a lot of other places that I really want to go on this slate. Like, I don't think it's the time to do that quite yet because we don't really know. Like, I know you brought up the Seattle game. I just can't get behind that because I don't think the Broncos are going to be that type of team. I don't think they're going to have that kind of pace. I don't think they're going to be able to push them like that. I feel like that game's a little bit grosser to me. I feel like the game that's probably being overlooked is probably the Bears-Titans game. And you can make a case on both sides of the ball there. Like, I think you can make a case for the Titans as well. But that has one of the higher totals on the slate. It has the fourth highest total on this slate that we have. The Bears have the fourth highest implied team total on this slate as well. And they're one of the few teams that their total's actually been bet up. So, like, where some of these other teams have dropped. And so you look at the Bears, you have Caleb Williams, who's cheap. He's like 5,900. And their other pass catchers, I think, outside of DJ Moore is a little bit expensive. But like Roma Dunzi at 4K is a very good option here with this, especially if you're afraid you think that that possibly, let's say, Steed shadow covers DJ Moore. Well, I think that just opens things up a lot for either Keenan Allen in the slot or somebody like Roma Dunzi, who is super cheap at 4K. But I just think that, like, if I was going to get different on this slate, I think it's the Bears-Titans game because there's also run back options on the other side that you could look at with Calvin Ridley. I think he is a direction if you want to as a run back option that you could look at as well, or even like a Tyler Boyd or something like that. But I just think with that game, I think that's the game. If I'm going to target something that's a little bit different, that's not the Dolphins, Jags, Texas Colts, or the Bills Cardinals, I think that Bears Titans game looks like a really good option.
Kev, but I mean, I don't want to interrupt here, but like the biggest thing for Josh Allen. Is it just Dalton Kincaid, or who the hell do you want to stack him with? Because
I love Shakir. Like I think.
Yeah, Shakir's a really good play.
See, and for me, if I'm playing Allen, the guy that I want to go to is Curtis Samuel, dude. He's not on the injury report. I think Curtis Samuel's going to get a lot of, like, how the Bills love to do all that weird shit in the red zone and at the goal line.
Yep.
Like, dude, I'm not proclaiming this. But if you were to tell me Curtis Samuel, like, caught a touchdown and, like, ran one in on a freaking end around, I wouldn't be surprised at all, dude. So, like,
definitely.
I got a lot of love for Curtis Samuel. Like, if I want to get weird or get different with a part of that game, Curtis Samuel is the way I want to go with that game.
Yeah, I like that call a lot too, D-Bro. I think he was dealing with turf toe, was it?
Yeah.
But yeah,
and he's practicing in full. He's not even on the injury report, baby.
Yeah, that's great. and back with Joe Brady, who kind of unleashed him in Carolina and had him do some special things there. So I think that's a great call, and I think that's another thing to look at too, Kev. As soon as you mentioned like not shying away from Josh Allen, kind of what we've been accustomed to, or what we kind of know is like on DraftKings, you don't really need to pay up at quarterback. So we kind of like, okay, who are the top 3 quarterbacks, and like who can we find cheaper, who has some rushing upside, or who can do this and that. But like with and because of the pass catchers, like the pass catchers with Buffalo are so cheap that it makes that $8K price tag for Josh Allen a little digestible. And I think, some people might be afraid, like, oh, is the running going to be less now? Now they got James Cook on another year, and Ray Davis is there. Like, he might lose goal line work, but like, we don't know that yet. So I think that's a good call out. And I think that Josh Allen should be, one of the staples that people look to if they're playing cash games, just because he is going to be such a catalyst of the offense. I feel like, especially with, no Stephon Diggs being there, like, I think that just puts, more onus on him to have to do more. And I think this is going to be a good matchup for him to start that off against Arizona. The Chicago one's interesting, Kev. I mean, I think that the game will definitely go overlooked. A lot of people are hyping up the Bears defense and the things that are going on, especially with the secondary with Jalen Johnson and, them being on Hard Knocks. I think people will stray away, but I think Tennessee, has got a lot to prove, overhauling their entire coaching staff and, bringing new look in there, and Will Levis is there. Like, they got new pieces for him to throw to now. They got new pieces in the run game. Like, they could really try and unleash some things on the road here to kind of start things off. And, I think that's what really would be good if you're taking Chicago pieces, is that Tennessee, keeps foot on the gas and really tries to be aggressive against this team. And we can see some fireworks happening there. Maddie, what say you, man, about the nature of the slate and kind of quarterback and where you're looking to? There's definitely some high profile quarterbacks we haven't hit on yet, but where's your mind taking you to as you look to predict the future for Sunday?
Yeah, I do like the Josh Allen call. And Ryan, you just kind of mentioned, along the lines of how I'm approaching, the line of thinking on Allen this year. And that's like, if he doesn't have Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and, the guys that he's had historically to throw to deep, and just a guy like Diggs that can just get open whenever, who's to say Shakir's going to get open or Samuel's going to get open? And for me, like, the first thing that comes to mind is Allen drops back to pass. Those guys aren't open. He's just going to take off running with his legs, right? And so I legit think we could see him have 15 rush attempts, here against a Cardinals defense that, they should be able to still move the ball on. And you mentioned James Cook and Ray Davis. Both those guys can catch passes out of the backfield. So, we've seen James Cook in the blow-up games, come from the receiving game, especially that Dallas game last year. So, I do like him. You can play him naked. You can play him. I wouldn't play him with 2 guys, but certainly do like him. Probably would just pick one receiving option and hope that the ceiling comes from his legs, because he is their goal line running back. Essentially, he's just like Jalen Hurts. So definitely would, if paying up, I definitely would go with him over CJ Stroud, just because Stroud needs so much through the air to get there and doesn't really provide as much with his legs. So I'm on board with the Josh Allen call. I like that a lot. The Miami-Jacksonville game is the obvious one. I mean, that's 2 high-profile offenses against, defenses that can give up points. So, Tyreek and Waddle are the obvious ones through the air on the Miami side. Such an easy stack with Tua. But I really like Jonnu Smith this year as well. I think he's going to be a yards after catch monster in that offense. Mike McDaniel is really going to know how to use him. And McDaniel has said, one approach with one set of personnel one year, it doesn't translate to a new set of personnel the next year. So just because they haven't used the tight end historically in Miami doesn't mean that that's, not going to be the case here. So I really like Tua. You can play him with pretty much anybody in that offense. The pass catchers are just really easy to get to because of the tight funnel there of volume. So on the other side of that game too, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is the cheaper option. I like Evan Ingram a lot this year, and it's a good matchup against Miami. Historically, tight ends have done well against Miami, so that's a pretty easy stack for me. They're without Calvin Ridley, and honestly, I think Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas are just going to be more of kind of playing that Calvin Ridley role last year. where those guys just kind of run deep and take the safeties out of the play and allow Ingram and Christian Kirk to focus on most of the pass catching work there. So I like Lawrence with Kirk and Ingram personally, especially with Kirk playing out of the slot, assuming he's good to go with that calf injury he's dealing with. But yeah, that game is just so easy to stack, and it's the highest total of the week, and it's a pretty obvious one. And I think in week one, I can see from what I've seen, Caleb Williams is going to be the chalk at quarterback, and so I think people are going to end up
really
that Miami Jacksonville game.
Is Caleb projecting
That's
to be
crazy.
chalk?
Yep, he is.
Damn.
And so
Where's Jaden at then?
Jaden's not as high. I think he's in the upper single
Good
digits.
Lord.
But, so I guess all that to
surprised to
say
hear
is I really like that game, and I do think people will end up on Tyreek, but I think that outside of Tyreek, I do think Ingram will get a little bit of steam, but that game is one of my favorites, and my quarterback will most likely come from one of those two teams if I was playing single entry. But outside of that, if you're looking for like more options in tournaments, we talked about the Bills, but I mean Kyler Murray on the other side, he's only 6,400 for a guy that can run 10 plus times. He's got an extra offseason coming back from the leg injury that he had 2 years ago. He's got Marvin Harrison Jr. now. I mean, they still have James Conner that they'll turn around and hand the ball off to. But I mean, I don't know that these defenses that have been, good the last few years are necessarily always guaranteed to be good. I mean, DeMar Hamlin is supposed to be the starting safety for the Bills. And, he's been a guy that's historically not been great. So it's like, just one of those things, right? Like, yeah, sure. The Bills seem like a defense that would be pretty good, but I mean, there's definitely avenues for Arizona to put up points in that game. And that would certainly come on the back of Kyler Murray, especially if you think Josh Allen does well on the other side. So I like Murray for tournaments. And then we talked about it pre-show, but there's one game that's really, really interesting to me. And that's the Dallas-Cleveland game. Mm-hmm. I can see both of those offenses just turning to the air for production, or especially early in the year. I mean, Dallas has Rico Dowdle and Zeke. And I mean, I'm pretty sure all four of us on this call here are faster than Zeke right now. So we may have better elusive ratings than Zeke when it's all said and done.
I don't know. Kev is going to be close, man.
Yeah, well, that's
like
right.
watching Rich Eisen run. It's not pretty.
And I mean, Dowdle was never tested as like a super efficient guy. He was an undrafted free agent. I mean, sure, yeah, he's going to get a ton of volume, especially early in the year. But I really just think that the Cowboys' offense is going to continue to flow through Dak. The obvious stacking partners are Lamb and Ferguson, so it's easy to stack them. But I mean, Jalen Tolbert's the wide receiver too, and he's free. So you can really get creative with your Dallas stack there. And then on the other side, Cleveland at home, I mean, it's Watson, Cooper, Judian, and Njoku, and that's pretty much it. But they do have Jerome Ford to lean on, from the running back side. But that's a game, Derek, you talked pre-show about pace. That's a game that could definitely sneak up in pace with how fast Dallas likes to go. And Deshaun Watson, he's got the ability to run the ball. I mean, he can easily run for 50 plus yards and a touchdown in this game. So that's a sneaky game for me. That's one I'd probably reserve more for tournaments, but that's definitely one I'm looking at. And that's a late afternoon hammer too.
Something to keep in mind with at least on the Brown side is that with bringing Ken Dorsey now as the offensive coordinator, like they're wanting to do this is going to be a much different team than I think people expect from the Browns. Like people are used to the Browns being a really kind of run heavy offense. They don't throw the ball a lot. Like they want to be very, very fast paced this year. They want to open things up. You're going to see more 3-4 wide receiver sets than you've ever seen from this team. This is not a team that wants to, run the ball anymore. This team wants to open it up and throw the ball a lot. And so I think that is an aspect that I think at least early on you can look to exploit, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be expecting that from them. And so I think when people look at this offense, I think that is something like kind of a takeaway for me with this team. And I think that's where you can bring in somebody like Jerry Jeudy, who hasn't been great in his career, but like he's had moments. But for the most part, he's been bad. But I mean, you still have Njoku. Amari Cooper is always underrated. In terms of a pass catching option as well. But then you have the might be old now, but the narrative there, revenge tour narrative going against the Cowboys again.
And Amari.
Oh, Amari wants to stick.
Ryan loves the revenge game narrative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have that as well. But
and I was also off
nice.
Deshaun last year, because he was going to be coming off that long suspension, had missed a year of football or whatever it was. But now he's been back playing, right? He played for, almost half the season last year. He's got a full off season, expecting to be the starting quarterback. Last year, that wasn't the case. And so I guess I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt for this season.
And Watson wasn't even bad last year. I mean,
And
Watson,
he wasn't.
He was objectively terrible as a passer, but he ran.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad for fantasy.
He's
though.
good for he's solid
That's
for
what I'm
fantasy.
talking about.
And I
Yeah.
think his passing is going to be better, I guess, is the angle that I'm thinking of this. I was out last year, but I'm totally cool with giving him the benefit of the doubt, having a full blown off season of being the starting QB and knowing that, he's got the distractions behind him and he can't get worse than last year. Right. So it's like, it's only up and there's no more pressure. He's got that big contract and all that. So, and on top of that, I mean, who's to say the Cowboys defense is elite? I mean, Trayvon Diggs is coming back from a knee injury. They don't have Stephon Gilmore anymore, who was actually really underrated last year. If they can't get pressure on the quarterback, their defense or their secondary has historically been, willing to give up big plays because they rely on their pressure to get to the quarterback and they try to jump routes because that their pressure is typically so good. That they're susceptible to a lot of double moves. And when the pressure doesn't get home, it allows for big plays. So I really like that game. I know I just spent a lot of time on it, but I definitely think it's a really, really under the radar game there.
I love that call. And I love the fact that, just to jump in real fast, Kev, I love the point you made about Dorsey. So I just pulled it up. When he was the OC for Buffalo, they were 14th in neutral pace and 4th in neutral passing rate. And I know that's okay, it's Josh Allen, blah, 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 blah. But shit, man. What if that's the case? We talked about this pre-show, and I want to make sure this makes it into the show. I think quietly that game is going to lead the entire slate in play volume. Both of those teams, we know Dallas is going to sprint. If Cleveland does as well, that game, and I'm not saying both those defenses aren't good, especially Cleveland, but close your eyes, boys. Just think of this. Would it be that crazy to see the Cowboys come out and fall on their face and Cleveland just stomps their asses?
Absolutely
in week 1?
not. And you know what?
That's kind of what happens.
And you know what happens if that happens? Is CeeDee Lamb gets 18 targets and he's single digit ownership when Tyreek's 30% owned.
Yep.
Right.
So
and Cleveland playing at home, so Dallas is on the road, yeah.
And both teams have good tight ends too. We talk about wanting to fill the tight end spot with our quarterback. I mean, you play either quarterback. You've got Ferguson with Dak and Njoku.
I just want to go skinny
Deshaun.
with it. Go Deshaun to Amari and run it back with CD and move on.
That works for me.
Yeah. Love that. And especially without Chubb being there. And I think Jerome Ford could probably catch some steam at his price as we get ready to talk about running backs as well, too. That is some interesting leverage there to talk about the Cleveland passing game. So shout out to you, Maddie, for bringing that up.
Can
real
we
quick.
Get one more quarterback before we move into a running back?
Yeah.
We hadn't even mentioned Baker Mayfield and how bad the Commanders' defense is. Does anybody have any? I see Kev, but you're out here sitting here freaking talking about Chicago and Tennessee and shit like that. Can we not talk about the quarterback that might face maybe the worst pass defense in the NFL that everybody shredded and they didn't do anything this offseason besides
And if you want to talk about leverage, Rachaad White is projected to be the highest owned running back on the slate.
Yeah,
is he?
I'll pass on that.
Oh, sweet hell. Okay, never mind. I'm playing a
Mike Evans week.
I'm playing. Dude, Mike Evans
every week.
I'm telling you right now, Mike Evans is going to crush this week, and we ain't even got no wide receivers. Washington's going to run a shit ton of single high.
We've just talked about so many different quarterback options, and then we're just going to go. We're going to bring up Baker fucking Mayfield.
Why?
Listen,
Why not? You're talking about a quarterback going against Tennessee where they have two L'Jarius Sneed, and you don't want to play Baker Mayfield. Tell me why.
The Bucs offense is going to crash hard this year.
Are you just laying that all at the feet of Dave Canellis?
A lot of it, yeah.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everywhere he's went, he's been really good. But now you have what is a rookie offensive coordinator here for this team. Baker Mayfield's never been good. I know he had the one outlier year, right? And we could say the same thing for Geno Smith, who had the one outlier year, right? And then kind of fell off. I am not excited about the Bucs whatsoever about their offense, really, for the most part. And I'm damn sure not playing putting my American hard-earned dollars on Baker Mayfield. Like with just so many, we just talked about.
Fine, you
have
can
Tua,
deposit
you have
with
Trevor
Canadian
Lawrence.
dollars. I don't give a shit. Whatever you want to do.
You have. We haven't even really. We didn't
Mexican
really talk
dollars
about
for
that. I
Kev.
mean, we didn't really spend a lot of time
Pesos.
even talking about the Texans and Colts game. Which, if you're being honest, like that game definitely has a real shot to really shooting out with their offenses. The Colts secondary. We want to talk about bad defenses. The Colts secondary is abysmal, and then you have with CJ Stroud with their pass catchers. Talk about all these other players. Like, there's no way I could play Baker Mayfield. Like, there's nothing that would even remotely make. I don't.
So when we turn over the cards and the Millie Maker has Baker and Mike Evans and Commanders on the other side because they're dirt cheap and they play Team
We
Jam
will be moving on to week 2. And, like, I am perfectly okay with not doing that.
The meme of closing the laptop or whatever.
Or the throwing it out the window. Like, I don't care. I am not playing Baker fucking Mayfield.
It was like, isn't there baseball on right now? Tries to tune in.
Kev,
White Sox.
question before we go to running backs. CJ Stroud, I got my answer and I know who the hell I want to stack him with. Who are you stacking him with?
Nico Collins.
Oh, my man. All right, we'll agree one time on this damn show. I think Nico is the clear guy to stack him with. His numbers versus single high are just bonkers, dude. Like, he is living in a whole different area code on another planet. Like, I'm gonna have Nico. Maddie, tell me Nico is not projecting to be popular. Please tell me that for my soul.
No, I don't think he is.
Oh, baby.
I would honestly play Nico and Tank Dell because if you're playing Stroud,
yes,
at
that's
his
my favorite
price,
too.
Yeah,
that's my favorite
Stroud
too.
At his price, you need 350 and 4.
Yep.
Because he's not really going to get you the rushing.
I'm so
stats.
here for that. Yep,
So
that's exactly my two
Tank
favorites.
Dell is unbelievable. Like that guy is legit one of the best receivers in the NFL.
He's
just
T.Y. Hilton
despite his
2.0,
size.
baby.
Yeah,
That's what
I
he
mean,
is.
It's crazy that they now have Diggs too to really be like a
Yeah.
possession receiver, and they can use Nico and Tank Dell in explosive ways. Like that offense is crazy, and I mean they've got Dusty Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce back there running the ball. Like this is going to be the CJ Stroud show, and I don't know how you don't play one of those guys even if you're not playing Stroud.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to wedge in as much Nico as I possibly can. And
Tank
I'm
Dell's
fine with Dell, too.
5,500. Nico's 7K.
Come on,
Tank
DK.
Tank Dell's
We got
cheaper,
to pump up these prices on week 2, baby. This is crazy.
Tank Dell's
Just play
cheap.
all the dudes.
Really play all the dudes. Let's talk about running back, fellas. And we kind of were talking about the scope just a little bit, but no running back priced above 8K. We don't got Christian McCaffrey on the slate, so we'll be curious to see where he comes in when San Fran finally graces their presence. But we got Jonathan Taylor at the top, 7,800. Bijan, the year of Bijan, 7,700 coming in there going against Pittsburgh. Travis Etienne in a good game script, 7,200, and those are your 7K running backs. We got a slew of running backs at the 6K range, and then we do have some interesting players to talk about in the 5K range. I think that when we look at 5K, like you could be Jerome Ford, I think will be popular there without Nick Chubb. Maybe people want to go to a Chuba Hubbard because he's cheap. I think that when we talk about the state of the slate, I do think that people will be living mostly in the 6K to 5K range because you want to pay up for Tyreek Hill. They're going to want to pay up for, some of these elite and explosive wide receivers at the top, and really kind of overlooking the cheap guys that we kind of talked about when we were talking about quarterbacks to be able to stack with. So it really makes for an interesting slate here at the running back position. Obviously, DraftKings being a full point PPR site, which I think this is the year FanDuel actually added bonuses to players for 300 yards passing, 100 yards receiving. So that'll be interesting dichotomy there to make it interesting. But DraftKings has historically target pass catching running backs who can be able to fit that mold and kind of going a little bit cheaper. So when we talk about these running backs at the top, there's really not a lot that stands up at the top for me. I mean, I think for me this week, if I'm going to be targeting that Miami and Jacksonville game, I gotta like HN or Mostert, and I'm just going to have to guess which one. These guys have been so explosive, even with Tyreek Hill going off. There were so many games when Mostert
You don't
would
have to
put
guess.
up.
I just got to say that you don't have to guess.
You might not have to guess either.
No, you don't have
It's
to
going to be
guess.
fun to watch these guys in Miami pop off. One guy who I want to touch on before I'm going to do reverse here and toss it back to Maddie to start off with running backs. But one guy who I like, who I haven't gotten exposure to pretty much at all this year in my season long teams or hardly in best ball, but kind of regretting that, is Kenneth Walker. He comes in at 6,100, and this guy has been he's been so explosive and so good. Got so many touches to start the year last year, and it kind of teetered off as he was kind of banged up, and they let Charbonnet get go. And, I think another interesting conversation for us to talk about too is like, we don't have a lot of situations anymore in the NFL where it's just a lead back and nobody else. There's a lot of these backs that are, that split time, or even if you're getting 60%, 65%, 70% of the touches, that's considered a lead back. So there's always going to be somebody else there in the mix. But for me, it's just kind of really wanting to target, explosive players, even with that, who's efficient. And Kenneth Walker kind of checks those boxes for me. This is going to be a fun one. I haven't really built out teams quite yet, but there are some interesting pieces that I do see, down here in the 6K and 5K range. Maddie, where's your mind taking? Another one is Javonte Williams as well too. I got to mention that on the other side of the game, 5,500. That is a guy who I have a ton of exposure to this year, as I really do like him. But Maddie, where's your mind been taking you so far? If you've been building early, like what are you going to be landing on when it comes to running back?
Yeah, we'll talk about some really cheap value receivers that are pretty obvious plays, and I think that there's a path to paying up for at least one of the running back slots. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think Bijan Robinson absolutely obliterates this season. And they've got a new offensive coordinator there. Zach Robinson comes from the Los Angeles Rams for his whole coaching career, and so he's been with Sean McVay. And the Rams have historically been a one-guy show in the backfield, right? Todd Gurley, Kyron Williams. They even relied on Darrell Henderson. When he was the main guy.
Akers,
yeah, Cam Akers is another one. So if that philosophy comes over and it's more Bijan and less Algier, I mean. 7,700 is just not enough for that guy. He needs to be over 9K, and I think he will eventually. There's nothing that says he won't get 25 touches at home, against the Steelers here. And so I really like Bijan. I mean, outside of McCaffrey, Bijan's the best running back in the NFL, and you could even argue that, athletically, Bijan's better than McCaffrey. But so yeah.
Hey, what about Breece, Maddie? What about Breece?
Breece is good. I do think Bijan's better, but Breece is absolutely very good. I had him ranked personally, CMC, Bijan, and Breece. It was my 1, 2, 3. But
okay.
I'm all in on Bijan this year in terms of if I had to pick a running back to crush that wasn't named CMC, it would be him. And so I'm totally cool with paying up for him. And I think most people aren't going to get there. I think he'll be probably coming in around like the 10% range, and I think that's because a lot of people are going to play Tyreek. They're going to probably play like 6,300 Richardson at QB, or around the same price Caleb Williams. So I don't mind to pay up. There are some cheap options. I mean, I know you guys will go into depth on some of these guys, but I mean, Rico Dowdle is slated to be the starting running back for Dallas. He's 4,600. That one's not too much else to add there. I mean, a guy that projects for somewhere in the 16 to 20 touch range, most likely. Even if he loses some goal line work, I mean, he's going to be involved in the pass game. And we already mentioned that we like that game. So, that's a really cheap option. Jerome Ford on the other side of that game, he's going to be the workhorse until Chubb comes back. If Chubb is ever even, himself again, which is a shame because Derek, I know you love, I know you love some Chubb.
Yeah, dude.
So, I mean, those are two of the cheaper options. I mean, the Tennessee guys are interesting, Pollard and Spears, but Pollard's a little too priced up for me to play a guessing game. But it does seem like he's going to be the first guy out in that offense. It's just, there's a lot of, like you said, Ryan, gone are the days of guys getting, a ton of the share of the workload. And if we just look at this list, I mean, there's really only a couple guys that come to mind in terms of like having that really large workload. And Bijan's got the ability to do it. Aaron Jones is another guy. Derek, I'll let you have the floor on him, but Aaron Jones is another guy that projects for a really heavy workload in Minnesota. Rashad White, he's going to be chalk, but he's got a safe workload. Kenneth Walker, I like him a lot as well. Ryan, you mentioned him. So there's definitely some good options at running back, but again, I just keep going back to Bijan because nobody has his upside here.
Yeah, and then Maddie, when you're talking about building out your teams from the quarterback position as well too, like how interested are you to stack quarterback with running back, and where's that going to lead you on some of your builds? Maddie, I know traditionally you've kind of been like a 3 max 5 max entry kind of guy, so I know you kind of build out your teams accordingly knowing that, but I'm just curious to know if you're obviously with Bijan you're probably taking a silo approach there and not second, but do you have any interest like in that quarterback running back correlation there? The first thing that kind of came to my mind, I'm interested in Anthony Richardson this week, so I was interested in probably pairing him with Taylor to kind of pay off that price tag if the rushing touchdowns come from those guys and it's not really a passing game, but that's the way that Indy's able to keep up with Houston. That's why I'm always interested in thinking that way.
Yeah, I typically like to stack the running back with a more of a passing QB than the running guy, because the running QB needs the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns to hit his ceiling. And so,
right.
If the running back's getting that, it takes away from him. But Kirk Cousins, right, coming off an Achilles tear, we have no clue what he's going to look like. We didn't see him in the preseason. Who knows what the production is, but that could lead to more checkdowns, right? If he's not willing to stay in the pocket and really progress through his reads down the field. And I mean, Cousins has historically, fed, those guys in Minnesota and Washington. So I just, it's a good spot, for Bijan by himself. I don't think I could get to Cousins, but again, to answer your question, I like the Aaron Rodgers types, right? That will just check down instead of taking off running. Those are the situations where I like to pair the running back with the QB as opposed to the mobile guys. But I get it, wanting to capture every single touchdown from a game. If you think, a team scores 6 touchdowns and you play the QB and the running back together, you get all of them. That definitely makes sense. But for the most part, I try to stay away from running backs with the rushing QB if I can help it. But
no, that's good. I like to touch on the correlation options just in general, because I think, as we talk about this and we've all been doing it for a long time, the traditional, it's you pair your quarterback with a receiver, 2 receivers, possibly receiver and tight end, you run it back and that you call it a day. And I think that we've been seeing these offenses evolve so much that like we saw the Tua, Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill smash, and you didn't need to have Waddle or second pass catcher, so to speak, in the traditional sense. It could be that running back. So
yeah,
that's what
you could definitely play like Achane with Tua, right? Because if Achane split out wide, catches a 70-yard bomb, I mean that's a spot where Tua is not going to take off running. Tua will throw. They've got design plays for their running backs, right, where they'll use them as explosive receivers. So that's another spot, where it makes sense to definitely use running backs. I mean, Tua comes to mind, Aaron Rodgers, Cousins. It's like these immobile guys that they have good running backs that are athletic, where they'll have design plays to get them the ball, but they also can be that check down valve. So that's definitely a good point, Ryan.
Love it. And then Kev, as we're talking about stacking the quarterback with running back, you're all in on DeAndre Swift this week, right? Because, you're playing Caleb Williams. So, you just take that pass catching back with him, right?
I'd rather cut off my dick than play DeAndre Swift. I would not
turn fast.
We cut that. Yeah, we cut that clip up. Literally, we'll cut the clip up and we send it out. And, that's how we
no interest in DeAndre Swift.
Kev turning himself into a eunuch was not on my bingo card for the show.
I love it.
Dang.
He's come a long way from tickling Adam Gase's butthole to now cutting his
I know, man.
That's right.
We've
Adam Gase.
Oof.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
I can't do that.
Adam Gase bets.
No. But I think with the right, like, I don't love this running back slate. I was talking about before here. Like, I don't love it. Like, I think there's some definite options. Totally agree with you, Ryan, on the first teams you brought up. Kenneth Walker, Javonte, whatever, the 2 guys I definitely would have hit on. Tremendous matchup for both of them. You brought up Bijan. I love Bijan, and I think Bijan is going to finish the #1 running back this year. Like, stuff. Like, I love him.
Yep.
Don't like him for this matchup. The Steelers' run defense is really good. They added Patrick Queen over the offseason. Like, this is not the defense that I want to go and, like, Could he? Sure. Like it's in the range of outcomes.
That
Bijan
game is
Robinson.
going to be so damn gross.
The Falcons
Oh.
have the Falcons have one of the best top 5 offensive lines in the league as well. Like those things are there, right? But like I think when you look at this matchup, I don't love this going against the Steelers defense, especially their Steelers run defense. Like I don't think that's where I'm wanting to attack. And so while I don't mind, especially at the cost of $7,700, like Bijan Robinson should cost more than that. Like I don't think it's going to be that long, and he's going to be probably close to a 9K running back. But this just isn't the matchup. Like if I was going to pay up for one of these guys, I mean you could make an easier case for Jonathan Taylor against the Texans. Now I get it. The Texas defense was good against the run last year. They did add some more pieces over this offseason as well to do Hunter, but that he's not really known for his run defense. But we did see last year Jonathan Taylor against the Texans, like late in the season, have a monster game against the Texans. I do think obviously having Anthony Richardson is going to help as well, kind of open up some of those running lanes for him. But he's one of the other guys that you can pretty much lock in. He's going to handle 80+% of the opportunities from this backfield. So I don't mind Jonathan Taylor. Will I get there? Probably not. I really do like I said, like Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams. Like those are going to be really the two guys that I definitely wanted to hit on because I think their matchups are really good. The Rachaad White stuff, like I get it. Washington's run defense was really bad last year, but I honestly think that we're going to see a lot more Bucky Irving than people think we're going to see this year. I think he's going to have a role. I think he's going to take away touches from him, and it really wouldn't shock me if it's early down work as well that he's taking away. I think people would expect that maybe because of his size, it's going to be third down stuff. But Rachaad White has been the most awful in terms of efficiency. And this is not just this year, it's the year prior to that too. Like he's just not been good at that, right? But last year he had nobody else behind him. Bucky Irving has done a really good job of some of those things. So I am not really on board with Rachaad White, especially if he's going to be chalk. Like I just don't think that you have to go there for Rachaad White. Like I think there's other options. Like honestly, if you want to talk about like Alvin Kamara, like is not a bad option. And honestly, he's $6,700.
He's going to be popular too.
He is.
Is he? Because that's what I was going to ask you. Is he going to be
chalky?
chalky? Because
Well, but there's only so many options here we could go with, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And so,
and to your point, Kev, like you can't just not play the chalk, you know, because it's
the
field's
I was
You're at
thinking
home,
about it,
Warren's at
Maddie,
home.
as you were going through the entire diatribe about like running backs that get all the work that we don't have to worry about anybody splitting with.
He's one of them.
Kamara's going to get all the damn work. I was actually going to ask you guys
That's why
about
people
that.
are
But
playing him.
Go ahead, Kev.
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, his passing upside is phenomenal with Derek Carr, who he sees a shadow and he wants to check down the ball to Alvin Kamara, and so this is gonna be a little bit different. We got Clint Kubiak now coming in as the offensive coordinator. That we got rid of Pete Carmichael, who was stuck in the the 80s style of football, the way that they ran that offense. I think this offense is gonna be more creative this year, but it's still not going to take away from Derek Carr checking down as much as he does, and so. I think that is something you could definitely look at here with Alvin Kamara, just because the pass catching volume is so high. Now you have to worry about once he gets to the goal line, then bring in Taysom Hill and throwing a wet blanket on everything when it comes to Alvin Kamara. But still, his pass catching upside with it still being a PPR site, I think if you want to look at him, I think that is the guy that I would look at. You guys already talked about James Cook. James Cook is in a really good spot against Arizona. Like I said, Arizona's defense as a whole is just atrocious. But I think really the question is, like, are there any pay down options that you guys feel comfortable paying for?
There's some. Yeah.
Go ahead, D. Take it away.
I set you up. I set you up with the softball for you to hit a home run on, and then you say some. Yes, some.
I didn't want to be rude, man. I didn't know if you had something you were bringing up. Good Lord.
I asked a question. I said, is there any pay down running backs you guys like to pay down?
Okay. Well, let's do this over again. Deja vu. Go ahead, Kev. Give me the setup.
Was it like Wayne's World?
Just pretend like it didn't happen.
All right. So, is there any other pay down running backs you'd like to pay down for?
Dude, I know you're not going to like this, and I like Javonte, but I think Jaleel McLaughlin makes a lot of sense here. He's 4,300. Seattle has been historically bad versus pass-catching running backs over the last few seasons. Baltimore also was bad. So whether you want to go with McDonald installing his defense, Seattle was bad, legendarily bad over the last 3 years. I mean, we're talking about a defense that legit has been bottom 5 versus receiving backs for multiple years. And in the preseason, I mean, we saw Javonte and Jaleel both get red zone work. So I think if you're looking to pay down, Rico Dowdle makes a lot of sense, but also Jaleel, man. Like, I think he makes a ton of sense at 4,300. Like, I'm not saying that he scores twice, but on this would not be something if I was playing on FanDuel or something like that, but on freaking DraftKings and its PPR, like, bro, I mean, we've seen how many years, like, we've had the James Whites of the world and stuff like that, like, catch 5 for 50, get a little bit of early down work and get a tutty, and I think at his price point, he definitely makes a lot of sense if I'm paying down if it's not Rico Dowdle, man. But that's honestly like where I kind of like start and finish on the pay down running backs. Like, my favorite 4 running backs on this slate are Ken Walker, which we've already brought up. He's got a smash matchup. I mean, Denver didn't do anything this offseason to change their run defense complexion at all. They're going to run the same damn defense. They got the same defensive coordinators, same dudes up there, and they were bottom 5 versus the run last year. Ken Walker is probably going to be my most rostered running back. But if it's not him, dude, I'm playing all the damn Aaron Jones that I could possibly get. You talk about a guy like we just mentioned, like, where somebody's going to get all the work. I heard this all offseason, and it didn't make any sense, and it's not going to make any sense now. I don't give a flying shit about freaking Ty Chandler. I don't care. He is so damn overrated, and that game he had versus Cincinnati carries so much damn water for him.
You watch your mouth, okay?
What, dude? You pull up any efficiency metric, he's bottom 5 in it. Legit bottom 5 last year.
You just keep moving, all right? I'm just letting you know.
What? I'm just telling you. Like, you want to talk about a guy that could get like 70 to 80% of the work, and we need to let go.
But Aaron Jones has never been that guy. Never.
But, okay, is he still in Green Bay? Is he still in Green Bay, Kev?
Well, I know, but he's also at the age of 29, right? And how many injuries does this man
have?
And
why does Minnesota give a shit about that? He's on a 1-year deal. Why would they care?
So after that, we just go all in on Ty Chandler. Would it make more sense? But they've talked up Ty Chandler a ton this offseason. How much they love him.
What's Kevin O'Connell going to come out and say? Yes, Ty Chandler was one of the most inefficient running backs in the NFL last year. Is Kevin O'Connell going to say that in front of a microphone?
But you think all of a sudden now at age 29, they're all of a sudden going to be like, you know what? Aaron Jones at 200 pounds, let's all of a sudden now, we're just going to give him, we're just going to let him play 78%. He's just going to carry the entire workload for us. At 29 years old, this sounds like a good idea.
So you just, I know you don't like to look at any kind of camp reports and stuff, so I'll educate you here, Kev. But he's been talking about he's in the best shape of his life. I know you take that with a grain of salt, but the
you know
things
how
coming out of
we hear that, like
the
that's
things,
how you know
you didn't even let me finish before you started hating.
Trading camp starts.
You didn't even let me finish.
You know who else they said that about? Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, I'm not talking about fullbacks here. Aaron Jones is actually good, and when he was actually healthy last year, he proved he was still good.
But listen, your argument should
be... But if you're going to play the ancient guys, isn't this the time of the year where you play the old dudes? You play the old dudes in the first part of the season before the freaking workload.
He's not going to handle a 70-80% opportunity share. That's not happening.
Okay, so what do you put it at? You think it's 50-50?
The argument for Aaron Jones is easy. It's how efficient he's been over his entire career. That he doesn't need.
I didn't even get to that yet because you're still sitting here with the heart on freaking Ty Chandler.
I cannot sit here and allow you to say that he's going to be a 70-80% opportunity share guy. Of things that aren't going.
All right, where do you put his snap count? What do you put his snap count at?
Probably 60%.
I want you to put something to this.
Probably 60%.
Okay, 60% versus the Giants' run defense, which is bottom 5 last year. Even with that, is he still not one of the best plays of the running back slate?
I didn't say anything. What do I say that he was bad? This isn't me arguing against Aaron Jones. I just said let's.
Then what are you arguing about? Just to argue?
I already said why. I said Ty Chandler.
Kevin's back in pure form, baby.
Kevin's back in pure form. 100% going to get touches, and it's going to be a more significant workload that you're making it out to be.
Okay, I'm not talking about the full season. First of all, I don't care about the full season when we're talking about a 1-week DFS slate. I think Aaron Jones is going to handle 70% of the work this week. He's going to have a 70% snap count. May push 75%.
I think it's more close to 60. But
okay, I'll take that bet.
Either way, I'm not arguing against Aaron Jones. I don't have any issue with Aaron Jones this week. That wasn't my. I'm just saying let's not.
I'm not going to argue with you on Aaron Jones, but let me tell you about how I feel about Aaron Jones.
The only thing I've said is that the opportunity share stuff is not going to happen.
We're going to see about that. Okay. Well, Aaron Jones is one of the best running back plays of the slate. The other two guys I'll bring up here is James Conner. I don't think people realize that the Buffalo Bills run defense has been pretty damn bad over the last 2 to 3 seasons. They've quietly given up huge games. Anybody that's been in the DFS streets long enough, y'all remember that Jonathan Taylor game versus Buffalo?
Yep.
Yeah.
And dude, we're talking about one of the most popular games of the freaking week. James Conner, is he coming in as popular, Maddie? I promise you probably not, right?
No, he's not.
Exactly. So we're talking about not only is he in a smash matchup, but James Conner is leverage. So I'm going to have a crap ton of James Conner. The last guy I'll bring up here is Devon Achane. And Ryan, when you were talking about we don't know who the guy is, to play out of that backfield, when I was going through the primer, and I look at not only what run defenses are good or bad and all this kind of stuff, but also what are they good or bad against. And that's something that led me down the realm of Jonathan Taylor. I had so much JT that week when he crushed Buffalo. And this is what I'm going to bring up here is that Jacksonville was not a terrible run defense last year. But if you look at their splits versus zone and gap runs, they could not have been further apart, dude. Versus zone runs, they had the 4th lowest success rate allowed, 4th lowest yards per carry. Versus gap runs, they allowed the 12th highest rushing yards, gap rushing yards last year, and the 6th highest yards per carry. And to tie a bow on this, why does any of this shit matter? It's because Raheem, when he was getting a tote last year, 65% of his runs were zone runs. Achane was split down the middle. It was basically 50-50. Gap and zone. So I think we're going to see more Achane in this game. And again, is Achane popular, Maddie?
No, he won't be.
Exactly. So not only if you want to start a lineup right now and get leverage, I think the way that just to leverage where the chalk will be this week, you play Mike Evans. We haven't gotten to wide receivers because we're all for Rashad White. You play James Conner and you play Devon Achane. Tyreek Hill is going to be one of the most popular wide receivers to play on this whole damn slate.
He's going to be 30%.
Yes.
Oh,
so
higher.
you play Devon Achane and
depending
you
on
play in the
contest.
narrative that Achane breaks the damn slate. Achane goes for 150 and 2. And Dolphins put up a shit ton of points. And Jonnu catches a touchdown, and let's go.
It's such a good spot, too, with, how good Mostert was last year. It's such a good spot for Achane to just, come in and put that to bed. Because Mostert crushed, but he's getting up there in age. He's not gonna do that again. Which is why I like Tua preseason, right? Because if all those touchdowns that went to Mostert, those might go to Tua this year, right? So and that includes Achane in the pass game. So
I just think the leverage is easy to see on this slate. Like you play James Conner and you get leverage off that, or you play James Cook.
They're not just going to use him to run the ball either. They're going to split him out wide. He's going to catch passes, and he hit a 40% ball. He can score.
He had a 40% slot rate in the preseason. He had I think it was like 42 or 45% slot rate last year when he was on the field. You're talking about a guy that can get 17 touches and break the slate. That's Achane.
Yeah, he can house it anytime he touches the ball. So I am totally cool with that guy.
What about Zach Moss?
So I actually like Moss.
I like the other side of that game. I like Mondre. Cincinnati's run defense is bad, and they lost DJ Reader last year. So if I'm playing one run in the backs, it's Mondre for me.
I just think Chase Brown is like the shiny toy that everybody likes, and it just seems like Moss is going to end up being the main guy there.
Well, and the thing I love too is that Joe Burrow is like a check down king. Like we talk about Derek Carr, but Joe Burrow is like top 5 in check down percent.
Yeah, Mixon
and they throw the running backs a ton. I just think Zach Moss could end up being somebody we look back upon this week, and maybe not like an awesome stat line. Maybe he gets 3 or 4 catches, 70, 80 yards, but I think he can score a couple touchdowns. Yeah. He's only 5,800. Not a bad matchup. So,
what's Chase Brown's price point? Because, Kev, I feel like you're laying this case out. It makes me want to play some Chase Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I like for the season long. I think Chase Brown has a better shot of being the better rank. Just for this week 1. I don't know. I think this could be like a Zach Moss type game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is interesting. We didn't really talk about the Joe Burrow side of things for Cincinnati in that situation, but that game just reeks of ugliness. I think the totals dropped like 3.5 points. since
Do
it's
y'all
open.
have any interest in Ramondre Stevenson? Because I got a lot of interest in him because I think he's going to play a ton, and with the total and stuff, if he catches checkdowns.
Outside of Yoshi, I hate that game completely.
Yeah,
It feels really gross.
It's
feels really gross.
Jamar Chase hasn't practiced. I just
practiced
he
today.
practiced today.
well, I
practiced
mean,
today.
before today, like I just think
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of rust.
Mhm.
I
agree.
don't know. That game's disgusting, and
I get it.
I hate playing New England games.
Yeah, and the Patriots
know
are
it's-
supposed to be bad, but I mean,
Yeah,
they keep,
and I know
you
it's a new coaching staff, but still, it's still New England. I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I hear you.
I get it.
D, what's your Antonio Gibson read for that offense? Just with you liking Ramondre from the check down standpoint, like what Gibson? That's
I
really
don't
like
think he's going to
what
play
he
that big
can
of a
do.
role, dude. I don't think he's going to play that big of a role. I think it's Mondre season. I think Mondre is going to play. I think I'm not saying he's going to be a bell cow, but they gave him the contract. They've done nothing but talk him up throughout training camp. He looks really good in training camp. He's looked good in preseason. I mean, anytime they've given him actual like blocking increases up there, he's looked like Ramondre Stevenson prior to like when he fell on his face last year. So like, yeah, I'm not that worried about Gibson. I think Mondre is probably going to play 65-70% of the snaps.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
he's been really damn good in the passing game in previous years. So like, again, like if
I'm excited for that.
If Mondre plays it, okay, say like, what if he does get bell cow usage? Like, what if he does? It's a new coaching staff. What if that happens? Like, Ramondre Stevenson could get some checkdowns in this game. We can talk about like that line was all the way up to like what 8.5. Like, so they're saying New England gets boat raced here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well if that happens and it's not Gibson catching checkdowns towards the end of the game, I mean, shit, like Mondre gets you like 4 or 5 catches. I don't think it's crazy, man.
Yeah, I like it, and a guy who was talked up heavily, just the year prior when in a Mac Jones led offense, and we saw how much of a disaster that was with Drake making, or I guess Brissett starting. So Brissett we know can be competent and efficient with offenses. So maybe they're not as bad as we will think of them. I think 4.5 win total is where the Patriots were last I saw. Interesting stuff. Before we move on to wide receiver, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this, because this was the whole talk about this offensive scheme pretty much all off season, and I really didn't target it all too much, but I do have one guy, and that is J.K. Dobbins. When we're talking about the Chargers backfield, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Vidal, I think the rookie running back there, and probably some others. Chargers running back interest at all? What's the read on that? Greg Roman is reunited with 2 of his backs from Baltimore, and Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Are the Chargers going to run it, 50 times a game, as some would have you believe, because Herbert was being drafted so low? I think that's an interesting one to watch. And just as we're talking about cheap running backs, I wanted to touch on that because I think that could be one where people look at they're going against the Raiders.
I don't hate it. The way that I didn't bring him up in the quarterback stuff, and we'll kind of talk about it when we get to wide receivers. I do like he would make my 3 max. He probably wouldn't even make my top 5 or 6 teams. I do kind of have a little bit of interest in like a skinny stack with Justin Herbert. So I just, the running backs, it's not so much that like I just don't know what the shit they're gonna do. Like I honestly think like this week, like Dobbins coming out and getting 15 carries would surprise the hell out of me, to be honest. Like I think this running back room to start the year, until somebody kind of declares themselves like being maybe the best guy in the backfield, I kind of wonder if this running back room goes like 3-way committee. Every guy gets like 8 to 12 touches, and they kind of figure out who the guy can be like later part of the season. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. So I'm staying off of, but I get it, Ryan.
No, yeah, that's just one, and I don't know if I'll be playing any of these guys, but that's been the when we talk about things that people have preconceived notions and come into week 1, like okay, everybody believes that the Chargers are going to be this run first team, and Herbert's not the thrower. Like I want to see how owned these guys are from the running back position, because they might not be owned at all.
Would just be that I think the Raiders are going to be a really good defense. Like I know the Raiders' defense is.
They were
especially
really
their
damn
front-
good against the run, dude.
Yeah,
After
and
Pierce took over, they were
and their
really
front
good.
seven got better. They had Christian Wilkins. Like I mean,
Yeah.
they this game just feels really gross. Like in the mud, slow pace. Like
Oh yeah.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Like if you had to lean on like Gus Edwards or whatever, or J.K. Dobbins, that's fine. But like I don't love it. It's the same thing.
I just have a hard time I just have a hard time thinking any one of those guys gets 15 touches. That's my whole thing too. It's like I mean maybe it happens this week. Maddie, before we move over, I mean I don't know if anybody's got any more running back takes, but like lay this out for me, dude, because I've been like you've been talking about it throughout this so far, and I've been like maybe I just don't have a really good read on this slate. What's the chalk looking like at running back? Because when you said Rashad White, I almost fell out of my damn chair. I was like, are you shitting me? He's chalk?
Yeah,
Dear Lord, what are we doing here?
White and Kamara are the two main ones.
Oh, God, then I just want to auto-fade both of them.
I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I mean, I'd fade White before I faded Kamara probably. But, I mean, like you said, Washington's defense is horrible, and we know White's going to get the ball a ton.
Yeah,
I mean they did. I mean they did draft Bucky Irving, but
I think
Chuba is popular as well.
Yeah,
why?
Chuba. That's what makes it interesting. Like to play Kamara though, for me is like, or thinking about that Carolina and New Orleans game because with Canellis being there, like can Bryce Young be better? We'll talk about this at receiver, but like I couldn't believe Deontay. I couldn't believe Deontay's price when I opened up the app. I was like, "Is this a joke?
I'm in on
like,
Bryce Young this year, man. I'm in.
I mean, this is.
I'm in on him showing life. I don't know if I'm in on him actually being good. I don't know if I'm in on him actually being good. I'm in on him showing that he deserves to be in the NFL this year, which he did not look like he deserved to be in the NFL last year.
But even from like fantasy purposes, it's like if the team is not like, even if the defense isn't good, but like if he can be just a little bit better, a little bit more efficient, they bring in pieces to kind of help him out. Like there could be some goodness there with Carolina to kind of keep them in games. And like if we can get that efficiency, like this is going to be an offense to target, I feel like, which can be exciting. I will
say Chuba's going to be a full fade for me. If anybody didn't catch the if you go check out Coach Speak Index, Canellis kind of talked about his utilization of running backs and stuff like that. I think everybody's assuming Chuba's going to get the same run that he got last year. But Canellis was in a press conference and was talking about like running back usage. And he made it sound like it's going to be a hot hand approach until Jonathan Brooks comes back. Now I know Miles Sanders, just for everybody out there, like Miles Sanders did like hit his hand on somebody's helmet today, but he did say that he was okay. He's probably going to play and stuff. So
he's also bad.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying he's good. I think both of them. I think Chuba's grossly overrated.
Well, just look at their whole offense. I mean, going back to what Ryan said about Deontay, like they've got Adam Thielen, Leggett, the rookie receiver. They have no tight ends. And their running backs are Chuba and Miles Sanders. Like, how do you just not give Deontay Johnson 15 targets?
It's insane, dude. It's stupid.
And the other thing about Leggett, he's probably not going to start in 3 wide receiver sets. They were playing Mingo over him with the starters, which is just astronomically dumb.
Like they brought Deontay in for a reason, and it's like this dude was he was criminally underpriced in Pittsburgh when we couldn't trust that freaking offense for goddamn.
Is Deontay going to be popular though? And I don't know if we're just like flipping. Okay,
yeah, he could end up probably being popular, Maddie, like in cash build.
Because like I was going to say, he feels like just a straight up cash game play. I don't know if I can get behind him like as far as GPP guy. I just don't know if we see ceiling out of him.
But he's also only 300 or 200 cheaper than Tank Dell, so it's like.
What's his price point? I honestly have not even like looked at Deontay.
53.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about wide receiver because I think that becomes interesting. We got, lots to talk about up top. CeeDee Lamb comes in. He just, got that new deal from Jerry World and Company, 8,900. I mean, CeeDee Lamb just was a smash last year. So I'll be curious to see where he comes at from an ownership standpoint. Tyreek Hill, criminally underpriced at 8,700, probably going to be the highest owned player on the slate
Definitely
in
is.
this matchup. I think that's a foregone conclusion. I do have some interest in Justin Jefferson coming in at 8,400 in that game against the New York Giants. I think that he's going to be 100% overlooked getting the ball from Sam Darnold, but there's no world where this guy should, get off that field without seeing 16 plus targets in a matchup like that. Dare I say 20? And then Jamar Chase, who just came back to practice. We have no idea what's going on with him in Cincinnati leading up to Sunday, but if he's active, you're starting him in your season-long leagues, and I think he does become interesting because he'll be like 1% owned in some tournaments, depending on where you're at, and he's 7,800, and we know that all things good happen when Jamar Chase gets the ball for that offense. The thing about this slate for wide receivers, and Kev, I'm going to toss it off to you to kind of start it off, is when you're talking about these guys, you have Adams, Evans, and Marvin Harrison and Nico Collins round out that 7K range. I can't believe Marvin Harrison comes in at 7,200, but that's where people think about him paying that price tag for a rookie wide receiver. You're gonna have to miss me with that. But where it becomes like no man's land is the $6,000 range. I feel like, because when you look at the wide receivers who are priced under 6K, it's just daunting. I mean, the names that stick out to me are, we talked about Tank Dell, we talked about Terry McLaurin is 5,600. What's happening here? Like George Pickens, I get it. You might not want to trust Russell Wilson, but like George Pickens with that talent is 5,700. Malik Neighbors is 5,900. You're getting, 1,300 discount on him from Marvin Harrison. Like Deontay Johnson, we touched on Josh Palmer, who wide receiver 1 with the Chargers is 5,200. Khalil Shakir in that matchup is 5,100. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba is 4,900. Like, there's so many options in the 5K range that I just feel like people will pay up at wide receiver to get to Tyreek Hill and maybe load up on 2 of these guys, or you're paying a top price tag on 2 wide receivers to kind of get in the 6K running backs, and some of these guys will be forgotten. So especially in the 6K range, like the Michael Pittman, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Waddle, Metcalf, these guys are forgotten about, like absolutely forgotten about. I don't see them carrying an ownership. And Maddie, feel free to talk about that when it gets to you. But Kev, for you, you talked about Caleb Williams. I imagine you got to have some interest in DJ Moore there. So you got one of the guys that I mentioned in what I'm considering no man's land. But where else are you looking to at wide receiver when it comes to week 1?
Jalen Waddle at $6,300 is like criminally too low.
Yes,
I mean, he was a 7+ K wide receiver all year last year that you had to pay for, and now you can get him at 6,300 in a great matchup. Everything that you could make a case for Tyreek Hill, you can make the same case for Jalen Waddle. And so, and he's healthy. He's off their injury reports. We don't have to worry about that. Like $6,300. Like if Tyreek Hill is going to be that kind of chalk, I think just great leverage. Just moving over to Jalen Waddle, who could put up very similar type numbers. And so, I think he is somebody. If you're going to look at a wide receiver in this range, like 6K, Jalen Waddle. We've already talked about Amari Cooper. I think is another really good option at 6,400. So I think both of those guys would be 2 names that you look at in that range. Since prices came out, I thought Malik Neighbors was just at $5,900. I don't know how chalky he is going to be either, but $5,900, he's going to see 8 to 12 targets. I think is just a fair projection for him. I know that's a little bit of range, but he's the only show in town. He's going to see a ton of targets. There's really nothing in the secondary there that I have to really worry about when it comes to Malik Neighbors against Minnesota. One interesting one is Chris Godwin, $5,800. I think that this is going to be an offense that's going to shift much more to utilizing Chris Godwin into the slot. He kind of went away from that last year, and it really kind of killed him. I think Chris Godwin at $5,800 against Washington, really like that as an option here for Chris Godwin.
But Kev, his quarterback's Baker Mayfield. How are you going to play Chris Godwin?
I won't play. That doesn't mean that I can't play anybody. There's another quarterback that I won't play at all, and that's Justin Herbert. But I do like Joshua Palmer as an option as well.
Yeah, that's a good
mainly because of his price.
Yeah.
So because Palmer, I think, is $5,200 here against the Raiders. So Josh Palmer, I think it's one. We've already talked a lot about Khalil Shakir. Really like him as an option at $5,100. And then like I mentioned, Brian Thomas. I'm gonna have so much Brian Thomas. Everything that I built so far, I put Brian Thomas in. because he's $4,700. I think he's the Jaguars' best wide receiver now. He's going to be their deep threat. I think he could be a route runner that could run a diverse route tree. I don't think he's just going to be a guy that runs go routes. And so Brian Thomas, I absolutely love at 4,700. And then, if you want to talk about some cheap options, you have guys like Rashid Shaheed, who is $4,400 down here. Darnell Mooney, who is going to play a ton. I know this is the best matchup. I don't necessarily love, but he's $4,200. He's, with them, you already talked about Barry and Shea Robinson. One positive here is this team is going to run heavy, probably 90%, 11 personnel, which means Darnell Mooney's never going to be coming off the field. So he is going to be playing a ton. And then I already mentioned with Keenan Allen dealing with a little bit of a heel issue, he's kind of questionable. I'm sure he'll play, but still that brings Roma Dudzi into a really good play at 4K.
D-Bro, where's your head at?
Matty, I want you to lay this out for me, dude. I don't know if you want to just take wide receivers before I get to it. What's the chalk looking like, dude?
It's so the chalk this week is pretty much it's Tyreek.
Dude, is he
Rashad-
gonna be like 40% depending on
he's
contest
gonna be
sometimes?
he's
That's
gonna be
what
like,
I'm saying.
He's gonna be
31%.
insane.
Yeah, he's gonna be the most popular guy on the slate. It's Tyreek, and then it's the running back. So it's Kamara, Chuba, and who was the other one? Rashad White. And then
There's no other heavy chalk at wide receiver.
And then Evan Ingram.
Okay.
At tight end, he's like 20%. So those are really the 5 guys, and then everything else is like 15% or lower. So I wouldn't really worry about ownership too much.
Okay.
Like the ownership's going to be pretty spread out because there's not really like 1 or 2, nuke spots that everybody's kind of gravitating towards. So it's kind of spread out. So yeah, it's Tyreek, those 2 to 3 running backs, and then it's everybody else.
If Tyreek buries me, he buries me. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm going to lead that off with it. If he buries me, that's fine. Then, like Kev said, on to week 2. But 40%, like, my thing, I already wanted to play Waddle in this, and I'm already going to play Waddle. I'm playing Waddle, and I'm not going to full fade Tyreek, but I am going to
I think you can play both, though.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
On the
to me,
same
then
team.
you're going full game stack or you're playing Tua. Kev, I'm going to tell you right now, my favorite wide receiver play this entire damn slate is Christian Kirk. I love him. He's in a high total game. He has legit a just stupid good matchup. Miami last year gave up the 7th most receptions and the 7th highest PPR points per target to opposing slot wide receivers. Their slot corner for Miami is god awful. He allowed almost an 84% catch rate and a 133 passer rating last year. So Christian Kirk's probably going to be the wide receiver that I get the most exposure to at 5,500. To me, I just want to be different. If I'm paying up, I think CeeDee Lamb makes a lot of sense. Like Maddie was talking about with the Cleveland and Dallas game. But for me, if I'm paying up, my favorite wide receiver to pay up for, and Ryan, you talked about him, is Justin Jefferson. Like, and again, like, I think, playing, what's the line on that game right now, boys? What's the line right now? Like, how much is Minnesota favored? I want to say it was like, 6 or 7 points?
I think a point. No,
Is
I
it
think it's
that
close.
much?
Yeah,
I don't
point and
Oh,
a
it's
half.
close. Oh, shit. Okay, well, definitely need to go bet that now. Because I think the Vikings are just going to absolutely steamroll them. The Vikings defense is going to be improved this year. They upgraded their corners in the offseason. Stephon Gilmore, Shaquille Griffin being there. I think their defense is going to, and Brian Flores is going to blitz the ever-loving shit out of Daniel Jones, and he's going to fall apart. So I love Justin Jefferson. Like, if I'm not playing Aaron Jones, then I'm going to be playing Justin. I'm going to have one of those two guys, either Aaron Jones or Justin Jefferson, in every single damn lineup that I make. I just think their volume is too cheap. Justin Jefferson, like Ryan, you talked about, he legit could see 15 targets in this game. Like, Jordan Addison is banged up. There is nobody else in that damn offense. Like, Jordan Addison, even if he was healthy, is not a high-end target earner. I've been fighting people the entire offseason about this. He's not. There's no number outside of touchdowns anybody can point to tell me that Jordan Addison can earn a 20% target share. He didn't do it last year. I don't think he does it this year. I think Jefferson freaking eats. So Jefferson's probably he's up there with Kirk as far as like my favorite play of the slate. But if I'm paying up, it's one of those two guys. If I'm going down the board a little bit, it's Mike Evans or Nico Collins. I think both of them are in just fantastic freaking matchups. Washington is going to run a lot of single high this year. Dan Quinn loves to do it. The corners are, you have two corners like Benjamin St. Juste can be beat. He can be bullied. He's like a physical guy but he can't run with guys when you get past him. So go routes for days with Mike Evans. And Michael Davis, who's the other corner on the other side, has been legit a corner that other opposing defenses like picked on last year when he was on the Chargers. So give me that matchup all day. Going down the board a little bit, I love the 6K range that you were talking about, Ryan, like Amari Cooper, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf. Although I have some small concerns that Surtain follows Metcalf. I think that can definitely be possible, but that just leads me to if I wasn't going to tell you that Kirk is not my favorite play of the slate, then it's got to be JSN. Because Tyler Lockett is banged up. I think Tyler Lockett plays, but I don't know if he plays a full-time snap role, which also like condenses this passing attack. And then you're telling me if DK Metcalf gets gets shadowed, because Surtain shadowed, I think it was either 5 or 6 times last year, and he was really damn good at it. So you're telling me Lockett's banged up, DK, if he gets shadowed and Surtain shuts him down, then we're staring at JSN at 49 freaking hundred. Yes, please.
With a new OC that's going to throw the ball.
Damn right, dude. And JSN's not going to be used as
Finally.
this year's Malachi Corley. He's not going to be a damn screen merchant. Shane Waldron was drunk out of his goddamn head last year doing that to JSN. RIP Keenan Allen. I hope that doesn't happen to you this year, Keenan Allen, but Shane Waldron's already possibly on the whiteboard with the marker drawing up screenplays for Keenan Allen out there. But dude, that's where a lot of my exposure is going to be. I will say I am going to wedge in Jamar Chase into a few lineups because New England's going to be man coverage heavy. Jamar Chase destroys man coverage. He didn't do it great last year, but it's a muddied sample size with Browning under center. Joe Burrow wasn't healthy. If you go back to the prior year before that, I mean, Chase versus single high looks man coverage was getting almost a 30% target share. Tell me Jamar Chase is also not motivated to come out there and just put up a damn monster game in week 1 and saying basically from the jump, you need to open the checkbook and pay my ass.
How much has he actually done anything on those offseason? Like,
he hasn't practiced, but you tell me he's been sitting on the couch with a bag of Lay's potato chips? Like, he's got to be working
but it's
out,
still,
dude.
it still takes time for these guys to get into like football shape.
I don't disagree with that.
So like,
I don't disagree.
My question would be like, how much is he actually going to play? And it's a matchup against the Patriots. Like I don't know how much. I think there's a better case you made to like someone like T. Higgins, like who's been out there.
Yoshi.
I think you can make a case for him.
Price.
But, I'm just saying, like, that's what worries me about Jamar Chase. Is like, I get it that he's back to practice.
I get it.
Back to practice today, but like, are you really going to ramp him up and like have him go out there and play, his normal slot or his normal snap share and running routes like that in a game against them? Like, that would be what worries me about Jamar Chase.
Agreed.
But I think it's going to be reflected in the fact that he's probably going to be like 1% rostered. So that's the only thing. He's not going to be played, like for all the reasons you said, Kev. And if he goes out there and he crushes them, then it's possible. But I get it. Like, if I was only playing single entry or I was only playing 2 teams or even like 3 teams, did Jamar Chase make a build? No. But I think like you're playing 5, 7, like 10, a 20 entry a mini max, then Chase definitely, I think, needs to be in the player pool. We already talked about Terry McLaurin. Love him. If you go down the board, the last 2 guys I'll bring up here that are super damn cheap, I got to pull up his price before I bring this up, are Luke McCaffrey at 3,300. I already talked about him, but the other guy, and I love Luke McCaffrey because the other part about it is the Buccaneers corners are not good, man. Like, Carlton Davis is still there. I get that. But Carlton Davis was not good last year. He's very, very up and down. He's very much like Marshawn not Carlton Davis. Jamel Dean is still there. Jamel Dean was not good last year as well. Both of those corners struggled. So I'm not worried about Jamel Dean. I'm not worried about Zion McCollum on the other side. So I'm going to be playing a lot of McCaffrey, a lot of F1. The other guy you brought up, Neighbors, in that game, Kev, dude, I know that you're going to tell me this is getting too cute. I know it's coming. I know exactly where you're going to go with this. Dude, Wan'Dale Robinson has a just wonderful damn matchup. I mean, it is freaking fantastic. And if Brian Flores is blitzing the ever-loving shit out of Daniel Jones, he's going to get the ball out of his hands super fast. Oh, he's going to, dude. I mean, Brian Flores blitzed on 51% of their damn defensive snaps last year. That's coming. That's going to happen. And so for the outside corners, I kind of worry about Neighbors going up against Gilmore. But, dude, Byron Murphy has been a cornerback we have targeted year over year over year over year, and he's going to be the slot corner for the Minnesota Vikings. And just to put this out there for everybody, Byron Murphy in slot coverage last year, 69% catch rate, 124 passer rating in his coverage. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to be playing some Wan'Dale Robinson at 4,100.
Oh, those are the type of plays where people on the DGen Nation come for, D, bro. That's what I'm talking about right there.
I mean, it
baby.
sounds wild, dude, but the matchup is there, dude. And ain't nobody gonna play his ass. Nobody.
Nobody's playing.
You know why no one's playing his ass? Because no one should play his ass.
You just made a case for Malik Neighbors tied to the same damn quarterback, so don't come at me, Kev. Maddie, wide receivers.
There is a like Grand Canyon size in terms of the.
Are you about to say in talent?
Yes,
then no shit.
Talent gap,
yeah,
right?
I mean, duh.
There's a huge difference if you bring those two up. Like this is week 1, and like this is where like I'm like probably
here we go.
Too cute.
Getting too
like,
cute.
Into some of these, right?
Yeah.
Maddie, let me ask you, as an arbiter here, are you playing Wan'Dale Robinson?
I'm not playing Wan'Dale Robinson.
Is he even on your radar?
No.
Yeah, that's what like.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. And like, maybe I'm getting old because like I used to be like the most contrarian motherfucker out here, like just bringing up random names, and then I had to hear Ryan tell me how stupid I am for even talking about these guys.
Yeah, Kenny
right?
Galladay. Yeah, I remember.
Like I don't remember that. Like I think you're just bringing up random stuff. But I just like, there's no way. I just don't see the need on this slate with needing to play someone like Wan'Dale Robinson.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather play Yoshi at min price, getting all the Joe Burrow snaps, especially if you think Chase is limited. I mean, your case for T. Higgins is the same case for Yoshi, being the 6'3" starting slot receiver in that game. And then also Jalen Tolbert's the wide receiver 2 for Dallas.
Yes, there you go. That is a name.
3,400.
We could talk about that.
Now, hold on now. We're going to talk about Jalen Tolbert, and we're not going to let him talk about Wan'Dale Robinson.
Brandon Cooks is banged up. They don't have Gallup. It's Lamb and Ferguson, and then it's nobody else. So and they don't really have.
And Tolbert's going to run against possibly the best cornerback duo in the league.
And that's fair, but I mean, he still might get 6 to 8 targets as a 3,400.
I mean,
so he's
could Wan'Dale get 6 to 8 targets too?
I would.
One has Dak Prescott, and the other one has
Daniel
Jones.
That's fair. I can't even fight you about that.
But one quarterback got paid, and the other quarterback waiting to get paid. You know what I'm saying? So like they need it. Daniel Jones is going to be out there throwing. Like it don't matter. They might be pick sixes, but the dude's going to be out there throwing. So I think it makes interesting. Listen, D bro, you talk about Aaron Jones, right? So like you talk about a little mini correlation there. Like I don't mind that play now. And Maddie, you were talking to you're 3 max, you're 5 max. You don't need to be playing a Wan'Dale Robinson. But if somebody's out there, you're playing 20 max, you got exposure to Aaron Jones, you're gonna, maybe you're playing 150 or something like that. Like those are the type of like Millie Maker, like those are the type of players.
I get it at the price point. I understand it. I know I sound crazy and stuff. I'm throwing it out there because the matchup is wonderful for him.
Yeah, and I do really like the Christian Kirk call. It's another spot where I think it's Kirk and Ingram this year. I just really do.
Agreed.
And so it's those two guys are I'm very heavy on for season long, but also heavy on them for this week as well. But outside of them,
we're gonna get like a 3 for 110 and 2 from Gabe Davis, is what we're gonna get. And
probably
you're gonna like it. Is what's gonna happen.
I know.
Oh,
and I mean, outside of that,
I'm gonna vomit in my shoe if that happens.
The Buffalo receivers, I mean, we talked about them briefly, but it's like they don't have Diggs. They don't have Gabe Davis this year. It's Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel are the 3 receivers, and then it's 2 tight ends. So it's I think Kincaid's going to be the main go-to. But I mean, there's going to be a lot of involvement with Shakir and Curtis Samuel. I don't think Keon Coleman's going to garner a huge target share. I just don't.
How much y'all think people that play James Cook they're gonna tilt their damn faces off when Curtis Samuel gets a rushing touchdown?
It
my
sure
God.
could happen, and he's sub
In the
5K
first quarter.
He's 4,900.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
I mean,
we
you play a
talked
guy
about
like
Samuel.
that
I
in
like
a
Samuel.
5,500 Tank Dell and 5,500 Christian Kirk. Like, I don't know. There's
a way to build some teams where you go like super cheap at wide receiver, and we go old school and play team jam them in.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so that's why, like, you can still play 2 or 3 of those guys and play Tyreek or Lamb, and still get up to like Bijan, because we haven't talked about tight end yet. But you guys, why you like Justin Jefferson is why I like Josh Oliver, right? That's another pass offense where there is just nobody to throw the ball to. And it's a backup quarterback in Sam Darnold. So there's spots you can save salary, and I just think that it's not wide receiver. There's enough mid-range guys that it's not worth getting super cute over. Like, I would still make sure your guy that you're playing that's cheap has a ceiling, and isn't just going to be like a 3 for 30 guy, and you're like, okay, I'm cool with 6 points. But I mean, like, guys like Yoshi, right? Like, with Chase being probably somewhat limited, I don't think he plays every snap. I could see Yoshi going, 6 for 80. There's a path for that, and maybe scoring. So there's at least a ceiling there. But Wandale, I mean, I feel like his ceiling's probably 5 for 50 and maybe lucks into a touchdown.
Yeah, like
and
16,
so it's like
15 points.
Yeah,
and
that's his ceiling, right? So I don't know. I just think, I think there's a lot of good mid-range options that have ceiling capabilities.
So we haven't talked about this because I know none of us have really like gotten down to building yet. The more we kind of talk about this and so much like how cheap wide receivers are, I kind of feel like where my head is at with running back, I'm going to try to wedge 2 of these high-priced wide receivers into most of my builds. Like,
I mean, you could get 60 from JT and Bijan, and then not another single running back gets 20 on this slate. Maybe Kamara, I guess, is the
go
is the
team
third
jam
guy.
them in. Like, try to either get 2 of the high-priced wide receivers or 2 of the high-priced running backs. Like, where are y'all at with that? Because I feel like there's so many, like, if you were to build, like, you play Curtis Samuel, you play JSN, and you play Yosh or LMC, or pick your, like, not like Stoneman, but like the cheap ass wide receiver you want to play. Like, you can pay up for the damn dudes, dude.
And the cheap tight end too, which we haven't talked about.
I mean, if you went cheap, say you played Jaden Daniels and LMC and McLaurin, and you ran it back with, like, we didn't even talk about him, but still shitty secondary. Say you went down to Jalen McMillan or somebody like that, like in the same game.
Mm-hmm.
You can play everybody.
Yeah. No, it really is. And, Kev brought up an interesting point before we go to tight ends, which, I feel like is important. And, one is week 1 and week 2 for me, and I'm a contrarian player, like I have been for a shit ton. Started off with a fantasy authority, like all I would do is just think about ways to get outside the chalk. Week 1 and week 2 are the best weeks to get outside the chalk, in my opinion, because we don't know shit yet. So when everybody is loading up on the same plays, especially like in these, in these tournaments that the GPPs where people want to be in, like, I do not want to be holding hands with people on so plays. Like, if I can get to a team that has, let's say I take Tyreek Hill. Okay, I know he's going to be chalk, but if I compare him with Justin Jefferson and some other high profile guy that nobody else is going to be on, and go cheap elsewhere where people are paying up, like, I'm going to be good with that. Like, I'm not going to just load up on chalk just because it's chalk, because we don't know shit at this point in time. So I think that's good. And the other thing is just the correlation. Like, so many of these things are going to be like, okay, well, I just want to play these plays because I can, kind of like what you're talking about, Debro, which is fine, but just make sure your teams correlate, because so many people will look to just jam those guys in because they can. But I want to make sure that my teams tell a story, which is why, like, your Wandale call, I was like, okay, like, if I'm going to play an Aaron Jones team, how many people are going to play him with Malik Neighbors? Who else can I play him with? that's not going to be
I think
owned.
people are going to play Neighbors or they're going to play Devin Singletary, and that's about
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So those are key. So I think that's what's going to make it fun for interesting builds. It's like as you get closer to lock, we're going to start to know where people are, what the talking heads are saying and where people are going. And then I think it's important to just make sure you're building your team, make sure you're building your team smartly and have them tell a story. And then also like when you're in GPPs, like we're going for first. Like D, you always come on here and you talk about that shit. Like you don't want to handhold. Like if your play doesn't win, your play doesn't win. But like if it does hit, like you're not gonna be holding hands with anybody. You're gonna be up there at first, and that's what it's about for GPPs, especially in the top heavy contests. People playing. If you're playing in the millie or something like that, where a good portion of first go or the money goes to first. Like you want to get different, and this is the best time to do it. So that's what makes it fun. I think there's a ton of stuff at the wide receiver position that's going to make it ton for builds. And I'm usually 3-5 max as well, but I might have to get into some 20 max this week just to be able to get some exposures to things to have it be fun. Maddie, anything else before we toss it over to tight end here?
No, I'm good.
All right, so let's talk about tight end, boys, so we can get onto defense and build a team and get out of here before the 2-hour mark. Tight end is an interesting
You really
one.
think that's happening? We get out of here before 2 hours?
I know.
You think that?
Well, tight end's going to be fun. D. Let's talk about it because we got Trey McBride at 6,100. Hawkinson's already been ruled out. Then you got Kincaid at 58, and Joku, Ingram, Ferguson round up your 5K and above. So tight end is where it's always an interesting one for me to see where people go at tight end because it's pretty much going to be name brand. I think the name brands are going to be popular and people are just going to click in. I really don't see anybody paying for tight end mostly underneath Kyle Pitts. Like, and Kyle Pitts is already banged up on the injury report because we're ready for football season, so Kyle Pitts got to be banged up, he's at 4,600. Like outside of that, like I don't think these names are going to get on. Now I know we were talking pre-show, like a guy that, you guys can go wax poetic on a guy like Jonnu Smith who comes into Miami. He's 3,500. He's in a good game environment. He's interesting. A guy who's also interesting to me is a Dawson Knox, and only from the standpoint of if I'm playing Josh Allen teams, because most people are going to play him with Kincaid, and we know that Buffalo loves to run a ton of 12 personnel. Like two tight end sets are going to be out there. Like, is Dawson Knox still going to be around and still the guy? Like Kincaid was really eating when Dawson Knox was banged up and out of the picture last year. I get it. It's another year, another thing under the belt, no Stephon Diggs. So I do expect Kincaid to be out there, but I don't think Dawson Knox is just going to go into a hole. So him being at 3,400 to pair him with the Josh Allen team has some interest for me. Maddie, I know there's a 3K tight end that you're going to bring up. Also, Cade Otton is 3,800 as well. And, we know that, in Tampa Bay, it's going to be the Mike Evans show. And then also Chris Godwin's going to be involved there. But Cade Otton, he seemed to have a rapport with Baker Mayfield when it came down to it as well there too. At the top for me, I think, Maddie, you'll talk about Evan Ingram. I kind of got to live in that range. Like, I don't think I can pay the 6,100 for McBride outside of Kyler Murray stacks to get exposure to him. It's just not something that I usually do. I'm probably going to look to save salary where I can here. So that $5,500 range and below is going to be where I live. Maddie, just go ahead and take it for a tight end. Like, what's the deal here? What are you looking at?
Yeah, especially if I'm playing Deshaun Watson, it's really hard to not play Njoku this week. He was one of the more consistent tight ends last year. I mean, his game log is littered with double-digit scores throughout all of last year. And we know he's got a 30-point ceiling on any given week. So I do like Njoku at 5,600. As you mentioned, Ryan, there's not a lot of ceiling spots here this week. So it's not it's not really a spot to get cute. So, it's going to be the usual suspects for me. I like Njoku. We talked about Ingram because of the Jacksonville-Miami game. I do like Kyle Pitts. I think nobody's going to play him. He's 4,600, and he's got 100 yards and 2 touchdown upside with Cousins at QB.
Did you see the reports this afternoon too,
I
Matt?
did. He's got a hamstring, but apparently that happened
No,
like
no,
3 or
yeah, I was gonna say, but it doesn't sound like. I feel like we're overblowing that. Like,
Yeah,
it
'cause
sounded
it-
like
it
they were
sounds like it
being
happened,
really
like, 4 weeks
cautious
ago.
with him.
Yeah.
yeah, they
And
were being
so
super cautious. So he's not gonna get played.
No, it's something new because we haven't had the injury reports until today. And
Yep.
so that's why it's just finally come out, I think. But I think he's going to be a full go. And
Yep,
he's going to
agreed.
be, I think people are going to overreact to that Q tag. And
Yep.
if I can get 1% Kyle Pitts with Kirk Cousins and not Arthur Smith at offensive coordinator, sign me up for that. So 100 yard and 2 touchdown upside for Pitts at 4,600.
Alright.
I'm totally in with that. And then, yeah, it's probably Jonnu for me if I'm picking a cheap option. I mean, they were already heavily utilizing him in the preseason, and I just really think that his skill set fits what that offense needs outside of Tyreek and Waddle. So I really like Jonnu this year. Josh Oliver's the other guy that if you're wanting to play that Minnesota Giants game, the Vikings just don't have any pass catchers outside of Justin Jefferson with Hawkinson being out. So Oliver will probably split some time with Munt, but I think Oliver's the much better pass catcher out of those two and should get the pass catching usage. But I definitely prefer Jonnu if picking between the two, just because he's on a better offense, is going to score more points and more likely to score a touchdown. But yeah, so that's really the handful of tight ends that I'm looking at this week.
Let me ask, why not Taysom Hill?
Oh,
I was gonna bring up
really
Taysom
good.
too.
Yep. They're gonna run the ball a lot.
That's the
this
best
year.
case to not play Kamara.
Yeah. No, Taysom Hill is absolutely in play as tight end eligible.
Damn right.
He's 4,300, and now I
Yeah.
mean, even the Saints have him listed as a tight end. He's not even listed as a quarterback anymore.
Yeah,
And he was getting rushing attempts still. He's still gonna get goal line work. Like,
he's gonna throw the ball a handful.
Didn't
of
he get a
times.
goal line rushing touchdown in the preseason, or am I
always
crazy
does.
with that?
I'm pretty
So,
sure he
like,
did.
I love if you didn't bring him up, I was gonna bring up Taysom Hill.
I
Absolutely.
overlooked him, but yeah, that's 100% good play.
Yeah, he did in the preseason have a rushing touchdown there.
Yeah, I mean, he's 4,300. I mean, yeah.
Dude, and when he goes off, like, you're not talking about like he gets like 8 points. Like, Taysom goes the hell off. Like, he'll get 16, 20 points. Like, he had a game last year where he put up, like, I think it was like 22, 23 points. Like, so
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, week 8 he put up 22, and then week 9 he put up 20.
yeah. So yeah, totally down with Taysom.
Yeah, I think it's pretty for me when it comes to tight end. I think it's either McBride, Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, probably Taysom Hill. Evan Ingram I think is a play too. I know he's gonna be a little bit chalky, but I think that's kind of it. Like, there's really not a lot of tight end that I really want to get cute with. Like, you can make an argument for someone like Zach Ertz. He's 72 years old. He's really blocking the best tight end that's on the team, but that's what Zach Ertz has done.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it to Dallas Goedert. He did it to Trey McBride. And now he's doing it to Ben
Now
Simmons.
he's doing it to damn Ben Sinnott.
So it's only a matter of time. But early on in the season, $3,600. If you want to go there, like, you could do that. Like, but like, I'm not trying to get too cute at tight end. Like, there's other. I mean, if you want to, Greg Dulcich could be a name that you could look at at 3K against Seattle. Like, but I'm not doing that. I think I'm just sticking.
No, yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah.
My tight end pool, I mean, a lot of the names we've already said. Like, I'm literally not playing anybody else outside of Kyle Pitts, Jonnu Smith, Evan Ingram, Kincaid, Ertz. If I do play when I possibly on a Jaden Daniels team, although I don't like him a ton. Taysom Hill. The only other name that I'll bring up here is because he has got a glorious matchup, and they have been shit-tastic versus tight ends for the last 4 seasons. I'm going to play Hunter Henry some. You want to talk about a guy like a team that has no, like, we don't know who's playing wide receiver. Henry's practicing in full. Like,
Brissett's fine. Like, he can get Hunter Henry the ball.
Yeah, dude. Like, I think I'm going to be playing some Hunter Henry. Like,
I think Brissett's
fine.
more likely to push the ball to the tight end than Drake May. Drake May's more likely to take shots downfield.
Yep. So, I mean, again, you're talking about like a cheap as shit mini. Play Yoshi and play Hunter Henry. I mean, you're literally talking about that's what, 7,200 total for the two of those guys.
Yeah.
I love it.
I didn't realize Yoshi was the damn stone
he's
min
stone
at 3K.
min. Yeah.
Like, I'm playing some Yoshi now. Yep.
Yeah, he's stone min.
Thank you for that, Maddie.
Yep.
I didn't realize he was the stone min.
Yeah, and I think, and then I mean, I don't know if there's anybody else that needs to talk about a tight end, but I think defense is really easy. Just play the Panthers and log out.
Yeah.
Play the Panthers and log out. That's literally all I'm doing. That's it.
The Saints offensive line is so bad.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
He's going to throw some hospital balls. He's going to throw some interceptions.
if you wanted to play, like, to pay up, the only one that I would think about outside of that would be the Vikings, just because, like I said, they're going to blitz the ever-loving shit out of
that
Daniel
is a good
Jones.
one. That is a good one, too.
That's the only other one. Play and correlate him with Aaron Jones. I mean, that or Justin Jefferson. Like, that's the only other defense. Like, but for me, I'm with you guys. It's play the Carolina Panthers, lock button them, and log out.
Yep.
That's what I've done with every one of my team. Team that
I just put Carolina in first, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna build.
Love it. Love it. Any other thoughts on the slate before we try and build a lineup for the people?
Shit, no, let's build a lineup.
No, only thing I was gonna say is the showdown slates for this week are phenomenal. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen them where like literally every single game is awesome. Every island game.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes is throwing 50 touchdowns this season.
We got Chiefs Ravens start off, and then we get.
You have that ticket, Matty?
Dude.
You have that ticket while you're talking that?
I've got a parlay that's got him to throw 35 plus.
Okay.
Dude, that Eagles and Packers game is going to be so much fun, man. Like, I know we talked about Ravens and Chiefs. I kind of feel like we're burying the lead. I think the Eagles and Packers game is going to be so much fun. Like, I think that's... I don't want to say it's the game of the week, but it's pretty damn close if it's not.
I mean, even Sunday night, you get the Lions and Rams. I mean, that game has a lot of fireworks. I mean, and then
Matthew Stafford and Goff playing their former teams. Shit.
Yep.
Dude, we got narratives all over the place.
And
Ryan's gonna be
49ers and
Ryan's
Jets,
gonna be
right?
pissing himself watching that game.
And 49ers Jets on Monday Night Football. So
Yep.
the island games are phenomenal on this one.
This is good. The NFL did it right, man. These matchups in week 1 are pretty good outside of the low totals and stuff like that.
But we have no Kev, you're showdown guy. Like we have only showdown. We don't have any 2-game slate, right, for Thursday, Friday. Is that right?
I don't think so.
No 2-gamer? That's
God,
unfortunate.
you gotta make now I'm looking, Ryan. God dang,
I know.
I'm looking.
I think I looked briefly when we were coming on and I didn't see it, but
Ryan, I don't see an option for 50 plus, but I do see plus 650 to lead the league in touchdown passes.
Okay. 6.5 to 1. Interesting.
I can dabble with that.
Yeah, I don't see a 2-gamer, Ryan.
Yeah, they don't have anything. That's surprising.
That's a good. Well, wait, no, they don't. Damn, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah. And I know we talk about DraftKings here, but for those of you guys playing on FanDuel, you will have to worry about the Sunday night game in those builds over there. So
the over 1.5 FanDuel references hits. You love to see it.
I miss so much when DraftKings used to have the late night hammer. Like,
oh, dude, it was so much fun.
I was angry.
I remember we were devastated when they took off the
they took it away.
Game.
It sucked, man.
But I actually like it now because I can just sweat the 3:00 games and then fire in showdown.
Oh yeah, you generally had a bad day. Like, fuck it, I'm going all in on.
Yeah, screw it. All right, we're max center in showdown. Don't care. Bleeding money already. Who cares? Let's go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Kev, let me know where we're entering this in.
I mean, let's just fucking enter it. I mean, the Millie this week's what, $5?
$5? All right,
let's go.
Let's fucking enter the Millie.
Millie 4 ways, baby. Let's go.
Who wants to kick it off?
Panthers D.
Yeah.
Low hanging fruit.
Get that out the way. 2,400
Maddie, there you
Panthers
go.
D.
I'll go next. Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk.
Not Wandale.
No, I just had to get ahead of us. You making us play Brian Thomas Jr.
Well, now you know what he's going to do. He's going to pick Lawrence or Thomas Jr.
And now we're forced to the double stack. It's fun. Maddie?
No,
Kev?
I'm gonna go Josh Allen.
All right, let's go.
I'm gonna go HN.
I like that. That's who I was gonna go if you didn't.
Beautiful.
Let's we'll pair Allen with Curtis Samuel.
Hooah. I love it.
Samuel 49. 5,600 left for running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex.
I'll hop in here. Maddie, you just made a sharp as shit call. Yoshivas. At 3K, I want to give it some
God,
sympathy.
he's Stone Man. It's so
Stone,
crazy.
it's so stupid, dude. Like Stone Men. Let's go.
He's gonna play so much. Because they're putting Burton on ice.
Yeah, but well, yeah, the stuff I was defending Burton, but the stuff that came out today of like he doesn't know the playbook, like he's not running the right routes. That's why he was running with the 2s and 3s. I was very, very disappointed to hear that. Dude's got talent, but I mean, if you're gonna act like a
I mean,
shithead,
does
you
it
don't even care
surprise
about
you
the
with
playbook.
his career trajectory from
I mean,
everything that's happened with him?
It does, man, because you just hope, like, you try to hope for the better, like somebody's gonna wake up and realize the talent they have and get their shit together, but we'll see, man. All right, we got what, tight end, flex, and running back, 6,400 each. Kev, is it your turn?
Yeah, Trey McBride.
Okay,
We'll run back action.
I like it.
I like that. I was thinking about Connor.
All right, Ryan, go for it. I'll clean us up.
Connor.
So we got 6,650 running back and flex.
Like Connor's 6,200 if you wanted the game stack it, Ryan. We'd have exposure to both the high total games. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just
no.
Connor and Nico
Oh,
leaves 100.
Connor, Nico.
Ken Walker's
I was
around that
looking
same price.
I was looking at Evans, bro. I was like,
okay,
what can we?
But you
running
do
back
remember
so bad in
you
that
do remember
range,
Baker's as quarterback, so
dude, I could just see it being a multiple score touchdown. I like having a high priced wide receiver. But no, let's see. I'll put Connor in and then play Nico.
Yeah. Yeah, going Evans, that the running back tier is, like you said, is gross. That 6K
It's
tier
just
is
gross.
yeah.
bad.
Nico, James Cook, you got Pittman. I think the play is
And
Nico.
we need to force Allen's hand.
I think Nico's going the fuck off, dude.
What about Nico and Kenneth Walker?
I mean, I'm fine.
Can do
whatever
that.
we want to do. I'm down with that.
I do like Kenneth Walker.
I think, yeah.
And you already have McBride. You don't need Connor.
You don't need Connor unless you're going full game stack, but we are going to have plenty of exposure. It's probably time to get some one-offs.
And then Nico and 200 on the table.
200 on the table.
Yeah. Roll that bitch.
Roll it.
Do it.
Split that
All
million
right.
4 ways, boys. Let's go.
Josh Allen, Devon Achane, Kenneth Walker, Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel, Yoshivas, Trey McBride, Nico Collins, Panthers D. It's locked in.
That's a sexy team, dude. I don't care who you are.
Locked in, boys.
Team.
200 remaining salary left on the table. Woo! And that is your week 1 podcast for the DJ Nation DFS slate, main slate that is. It's been fun, fellas. I'm so happy to be back talking meaningful football with you guys, with the people. Shout out to everybody who is watching along, who is here a lot with us for the 2 hours as we digest it. But I know it's going to get cut up, put pristine onto the airwaves for you guys to listen back, see what plays everybody was on, the top plays, and be able to build your teams. Again, this is early in the week, so obviously things will change. And if you want to hear how things are changing, or if our lineup's going to be changing, you need to be in that Discord. The link is in the description. Make sure you are subscribed. You can follow along at the Fantasy Authority at FF_authority. Fellas, it's week 1. We gotta say good luck to the people. I wish we had more time because I want to dissect a little bit more, but we're gonna sign it off for the people and let D-Bro catch up on some sleep, and we got to put Maddie to bed as well.
I was
too.
just
Keep
gonna
him
say,
past
shout
the
out to
bed.
Matty D not
Yeah.
falling asleep at the desk. I'm proud of you, man.
I'm chilling.
I see those eyes getting heavy. I see those eyes.
I
getting
know
heavy.
those eyes are getting heavy.
You guys are all Central Time. I'm East Coast, so
No, don't whine to me.
I
Like
know
that.
he's throwing it on the time zones.
Gotta throw in the time zones.
Guys, thanks for listening again to the DGen Nation pod. We appreciate it. Be rocking with us all season long. We will be having these pods going forward, coming out on Fridays, as we'll be recording on Thursdays. So just wanted to highlight that. But we got an exciting week here with Thursday and Friday football, so we wanted to give it earlier to the people. Signing off for our friend from Fantasy Pros, Mr. Derek Brown, D-Bro. We loved having you, man. Appreciate you rocking along with us.
You,
Derek
boys.
Brown, guys. If you guys aren't following him, you have to do so on Twitter, on X at @DBro_FFB. Signing off for my boy Maddie DFS. Maddie gets buckets. Maddie 2v2. You already know where to find him, and the Godfather himself, the owner, Mr. Kevin Steele at Fantasy Rat 13. I am Ryan Alexander Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanAlexander_W. We'll catch you guys in the DFS streets. Until then, get that money. Peace.